not remember, but the video sort of went off for a little bit on you.
Yes.
And you know what I heard?
What?
Not for human consumption.
Oh my God. You know how many times my guides have done that to me where they've shut off my video or my audio because they're like, they weren't ready for that information yet. So very interesting that you picked up on that. A lot of times my energy will kind of freak out technology. My husband laughs at me all the time because it happens to me quite frequently. I don't find it very humorous myself, but
so it's sort of funny because I found that I know what to say and what not to say typically, but if there's something even questionable, the person who I'm telling is not going to remember anything that I
well, that's true too. That happens a lot. So yeah, that is true. Well, well, that's really awesome. Thank you for watching. You know, I'm not one of these people who, when I'm invited to these sorts of things, I'm not one of these people who then goes and like sits and looks at, you know, like I don't even know who's watched it. I don't know how many people have watched it. I don't even pay attention to really much of that sort of thing. I'm off on the next thing. So I'm just kind of like, you know, but I sometimes don't take the time to appreciate, and even my guides were telling me that today, because I question my own self and sanity pretty much on a daily basis. And they even told me, you know, there's certain people that only you can reach. And so what I want to say to you right now, which is one of the most important things that I feel and felt today, well, the last 24 hours, actually, ever since your first message, because that's all it takes. It only takes that first message for me to start receiving information. So it's like, even right now, it's truly taking my breath away. And so I am guided to only a limited number of people, and they are the ones who are up here. When I say up here, what I mean is there's a specific understanding that I don't have to play catch up. You know what I mean? It's like I don't need to explain stuff. So, and I'm realizing that the teachers of the teachers and my energy and my frequency can only be matched by a certain number of people, because quite frankly, people can't handle it for very long. You know, it's pretty strong. And I don't even realize it sometimes. But I like it. I appreciate knowing that you watched that video, or that you know, that gathering, because sometimes I really don't realize how far-reaching these things really are, these events, if you will. Yet I'm guided to do them, as well as sessions, even though it's not like it's something I'm doing all the time, every week or every day. You know, that's not what I think my job is. So when someone such as yourself, I have found that every single one of my clients is, or already is, a healer in some fashion. Many parallel realities, many timelines, have a very important job here. And so I immediately start to see like all these like lifetimes and timelines with people. So I was getting all of this information and energy about you like right away. So, and it's interesting because most people won't say to me like, oh, I give you permission to do, you know, which is a very astute thing to do. But most people don't really even, you know, think about those sorts of things. I was going to go off on a whole nother protection thing, but they're telling me I really don't need to do that. So, because we don't. So I think you already know that this is a sacred space and a special place, and you don't have to worry. I'm very surrounded. My whole body is actually tingling right now because I'm very surrounded by pyramids, and I've been getting some, gosh, I can't even tell you how it feels right now. It's like my whole skin is just like tingling. So I'll go backwards just a little bit. So in the shower this morning, I was getting a huge Syrian hit, like a Lyran Syrian council hit. As I'm receiving information, I'm getting this really huge Syrian energy from you, you know, from tapping into your energy. And last night I was getting, I started taking notes, and I'll take pictures of everything all the notes that I took, all of the symbols that I received. That's part of, you know, I'll take pictures of all of that. Anything that comes before, during, and after the session, I'll take photos of them. I'll send them all to you. Photography, that's another thing we're going to talk about, my friend. Whoa.
I'm a good photographer.
Yes, you are. I know you are. So that already gives me tingles too. So lots and lots of synchronicities with that respect. So last night I was getting a lot of hits from about like the Lyran Syrian Council. I was getting a lot of sacred geometry information through, you know, information about you. In that, when I say about you, meaning it's as if I see all of our work together on other planets, other timelines, other levels of reality, if you will, like even in the astral. I actually slept longer last night than I have in weeks. And so very interesting that I get that impression then too when I wake up that we've already been in council like last night, you know what I mean? And so it's like today we're just sort of acting it out kind of thing. Because the symbols and the symbology was pretty powerful. So I was also, well, let me just back up for just a second. If you need to stop me, stop me. If you need to take a pause, let me know. I'll pause the recording. I try to watch the time, but I kind of slide right into my own mode. So I often lose kind of space and time. So please stop me if you need to. And if you need to, you know, pause to take care of your son, that's fine.
He's got a visitor here, and I think she's taking care of him. So.
Okay, good.
So I'll just pop in and check. But I
wanted to say a couple of things. Now, I find this very interesting, and I don't know how this happens. Of course, I know how it happens, but almost every one of my sessions, I have to say, has a numerological significance. And it's very interesting today that we would come together today. And it's interesting because my time right here is 12:22. So I'm seeing 222 and it just switched. But it's interesting because today's date being 7/7/2018, today's date equals 16, which equals 7. So you, right away last night, I started getting all these sevens from you. 777, the number of spirituality, the angelic realms, service to humanity in a big way, service to the planet in a big way, service to all that is in a big way. So it was very interesting that I was getting this, and I kept seeing, and understand that when we come here, we choose a particular day to be born, our name, our parents, we choose a specific set of circumstances, even, you know, the sun sign we're born under, for example. So we choose these things because they have a particular geometric value. They have a particular vibration and resonance, a particular frequency that goes along with the theme that we come to here to explore. So it's very interesting today that now even my legs right now are starting to kind of tingle. It's very strange. Well, not really strange, but so 7/7/2018. So you've got 7/7 and then 2018 equals 11. So now you've got this whole 7-11 kind of thing going on, which is very, as we all know, of course, 7-11, the lucky numbers. I'm a birth path number 11. Now, this being the year of 11 is a gateway for all of us. This is no exception across the earth. This is a gateway for every single one of us this year, being an 11 vibration. But the day that you picked today being 7/7/2018, today's date also equals 7. So now you've got the 777. So you've got this amazing spiritual angelic energy. And I kept seeing the Star of David in service to humanity, compassion, an enormous capacity for love. Almost as if there was so much love inside of you that you just can't even get it all out, that there's not enough people in your world to even share it with, that it's just so big. And I don't even know why, why I was feeling this. It was just this huge capacity for wanting to share this immense love and really not even being really sure how. And then when you say to me, oh, by the way, I may have to pause every 30 minutes because I'm taking care of my stepson. And I thought, well, kind of interesting. Now, my sister, for anybody who's watched some of my videos, I've mentioned it a couple of times, but my sister is paralyzed right down the middle of her body, her whole right side, which was her dominant side. She was right-handed. And so she's, completely right down the middle of her mouth and everything. So very interesting that we have that similarity in our, that's part of our 3D theme here for some reason, is to have someone in our own awareness that reminds us. I feel sometimes that she reminds me to stop using how do I want to say this? Imaginary limitations, if you will. That, so it's constantly, I'm constantly getting this, oh, wait a minute. You can do all those things, but you're not. Why not? So there's this wanting to share our love, but there's almost like this doubt in our ability or not ability, but I don't know, necessity, maybe. Maybe the word's escaping me. But I want to keep going. So I felt like this pouring out of love within you. And so it's very interesting that, because that takes quite a character of a person also to have that experience right with you every day. I don't, as a matter of fact, I live 500 miles away from her now. I've moved away. I moved away from my entire family, including my children. And sometimes I wonder why, because I miss them and I miss my mom. I was missing my mom today, but I know that there's spiritual reasons why I needed to be, away from certain energy. But so I was getting, it was interesting because I was also getting a lot of elf energy from you, elemental energy, this wanting to protect Gaia. I was seeing crop circles and labyrinths. And I kept hearing something about a name. Now, David, so I wanted to follow through with this energy thing. So the name David, of course, we pick, like me, Wendy, and there's certain reasons why we pick certain names, here on Earth. And so it was interesting because I kept hearing something like in David's eyes. And then I heard the name Davida, and I thought, okay, wait, Davida, because it felt like the female version of David. Like there was and then I kept seeing the earth and crop circles and labyrinths and I didn't bring it. I found this stone one time when I was walking, and actually it's in one of my videos on my channel, in the middle of a farm field. And it was weird. It had these it looked like a symbol carved into it. Now, how it got there, it was probably, I want to guess, maybe a farm tractor ran over the rock or something, and somehow it carved, I don't know. But anyway, I have got it in the other room. But I was guided to this stone, and it was as if I was seeing then, I started to see these symbols and your connection to the earth itself, and the elves and the elementals, and galactic symbols started coming through. And Ashley, so I'm reading my notes right now that I took, and then I started getting a message about the Yael, because the Yael, are you familiar with who they are? One of the hybrid races of.
Not sure.
Well, we'll leave that for another day, because maybe that's something you need to explore. Are you familiar with Bashar?
No.
Okay.
So let me just tell you, I know a lot of things. I have certain memories of a lot of things, but there's a lot that I do not, like I have knowing about, but I don't really know, and not memories. Like I have certain memories, but I think I'm not really supposed to know yet. And that's,
I get it. And this is one of the reasons why we come together. It's to help, because this is what these galactic languages do, the symbols do. It's like you and your higher self have decided that, yep, you're ready. It's time. It's like, and 2018 being the 11 portal, that could very well be why so many of us are waking up in a big way. My actual awakening was more like in 2011, but now that I look back, and I bet if you did too, you would see certain times in your life that were part of that shift for you, that you may, that climbing the ladder, if you will.
So I think I sort of knew something always.
Of course, I did too.
So
I did too. There was no question about it. Even as a child, I knew something way bigger.
Yeah. Yep.
And there's just even this aura that's about you. And it's funny because I chose blue today too. Like they tell me what color to choose. And I could feel all day it was about the throat chakra for you. It's about speaking your truth, and you know how a lot of times when we're emotional, stuff gets stuck in our throat. When when you have emotions that can't seem to get released, they get stuck here. So that's kind of what I was feeling. Like there's this something that's here for you that needs to be released so that the rest of it can, can come out, kind of a thing. And that's one of the things that I know I'm guided to do with people, is to help them to be able to release whatever that is, So I was feeling this like really angelic and divine service to humanity. And I was even hearing Archangel Gabriel. And it's interesting because this was before I even got the inclination to, something guided me to go look at your website. So, but all of this information came prior to me looking at your website. So it was very interesting because Gabriel is also like the archangel of creativity, of birth, like birth. It doesn't have to be physical birth, but birth of creative project, birth of yourself, birth of a new way of being, that kind of thing. So I started receiving, and I'll take a picture of this for you. So I started receiving this, like these symbols and some information, and I kept just feeling this, divine service to unity. What else did I put on here? Reflections of source, the druids, Ireland. I mean, all of this information was pouring in. And the elementals, the elves. I was drawing a tree, and they were showing me like plant medicine. I kept saying being around a fire, and I was seeing like, so I got these like little fire with sparks up here, like, and I was seeing like, you, and I don't know if we were together, but I was seeing you, and it was around a fire. And what did they say? How did they say that? I think I wrote it down. Hang on. I did. It said, it was almost like a Native American image I was receiving. And they said, he was known as the one who spoke through the smoke. And it was interesting because it was as if like they were saying you could send out information into the smoke, and it was like, and into the sparks of the fire, and you would receive information and then share it with like the community. Like, so you would be receiving this info, like you would send out the intention out in the smoke and in the sparks, and then in return from spirit you would receive this information. And so you were known as the one who spoke through the smoke. So it was interesting where that how that came about. And so they said, you're able to transcend and transmit through fire and bring forth profound information. And then I started seeing like the Lyra and Syrian Council. And the Syrians are from the star Sirius, and they are the brightest star we can see from our planet Earth. There's the whole idea of the Sirius portal, in which we're receiving more and more high dimensional frequency information through the Sirius portal. And there's many, many different types of beings that reside in the Sirius star systems. They're more archetypal, but some are aquatic beings, some are feline, some are, it's kind of like saying how many different colors of humans or different kind of, people are there on the planet, on our planet alone. It's like we can't even begin to imagine the multi-levels, of information that we're receiving at any given time. And the light languages that I receive and share with people are for that reason, to help them remember more. Now, the question I ask myself, and many people will ask me, is, well, what do I do with that information once I know it? Well, there again, that's up to us and what did we decide to do here? What am I going to know? What do I want to know? What am I going to do with that information once I know about it? So it's really about integrating it, understanding how does it pertain to my highest joy here. And so let's talk about your highest joy there's a couple other connections that were made that I wanted to mention as well. But I was guided to then click on your website, and I thought, oh my gosh, because I've had a camera in my hand since I was like 10 years old, and the only thing I ever wanted to do was be like a photojournalist. I wanted to speak to the world through the lens. I wanted people to see the world the way I do, and I still do. Before I started doing light languages and everything, the very first thing I started doing to get myself out of my own shell was I started posting my own photographs online. Now, as we know, everybody's a photographer online, right? So so my dream was quickly dwindling, right? Because I raised a family, and when you don't believe in yourself, you can't, I couldn't possibly make a living doing this. Now, had I believed in myself 30 years ago and stood up for myself, I would be doing exactly what you're doing. And so I find that connection very powerful, because I understand what it is what you're really doing. And so your photography is phenomenal.
Thank you. But you know what photography is all about, right?
Well, it's light, it's
Light,
language, it's it's a story. It's
light and shadow.
it is. It's all about light and shadow. I discovered through taking pictures that, you know, and some people really can't understand this, and I haven't really been able to. I think I did a video about it one time, but to try to convey it, I felt as if I was, you know, failing, but I was able to finally, it was as if they were showing me through photography one day that matter is not what we believe that it is, because only a photographer can turn the lens in such a way that you can literally see through an object. You can see right through it. Most people don't understand that. And the first day, as I was doing light languages and speaking the languages while I was actually focusing, and a lot of my favorite photography is, I'm talking, you know, zoomed in as far as I can go, because I want to see the world from a completely different perspective. And so that's how I discovered that. And that I literally got a download that brought me to my knees weeping that day when I finally, it was as if I was listening to all these channelers, including Bashar and all these other ones, and they were explaining about how we create physical reality, and how physical reality is created by thought, created by frequency. I got really into the whole, just all of a sudden I started getting downloads and interested in like numerology. I've always been interested in numerology, but the connection between light and sound and energy, and how when I'm taking these photographs, I'm able to almost prove the laws of physics, you know, and so it became an exploration for me of everything. It became my whole life, really. The photography and the light language was about alchemy. And so I received this information about how, you know, everything is just energy, and how it's our thoughts that make a thing real. And they literally told me to blur the camera. And I'm like, why? You know, what? And they're like, just trust us, you know. It was like I could hear the elves talking to me, just trust us. So, and I get tingles when I talk about them, because I'm really connected to the elves and the fairies and all those realms and stuff. So I love being in nature so much. And so it's like, they're like, just blur the camera. And I was like, holy shit, I can see through the flower. I was just like, oh my God, I get it. And then I could hear the Nikola Teslas. I could hear the series. I could hear the beginning of the builders of time and space and matter and source. It was as if that one moment behind the camera, I was able to connect and understand everything all in a moment, in a way I never did before. So perhaps only another photographer could even understand this conversation. You know, maybe that's why I never really pursued it.
Yeah. Uh, nobody ever really, nobody ever really seemed all that interested in my photography. And I'm not really sure why, but it sort of goes along with a recurring theme, because my whole life, really, no one has ever really paid much attention to me when I talk. And it's funny, because I would be at a party or something. They would come up to me and I'd be talking, and they would like be talking about a subject that I knew something about. And I'd be like, oh, great. I could, you know, I know about beer, and I know about how you make it, or I know about cigars because I grew my own tobacco. And
well, yeah, there's another connection. So
so I could literally stop what I'm saying halfway through and just be quiet, and no one would even notice, because they weren't really listening. Like I would do that. You know, I get a kick out of it, but people.
I understand what you're saying, and I know why we came together now, because I have a recurring theme with my own life in that way. And that's probably one of the reasons why I do what I do now. Because I never felt like I had a voice. And so this is why I'm smiling, because I kept hearing with you throat chakra, throat chakra, throat chakra. And I want to tell you, last night I was guided to a video, and I think he might have just posted it. There's a gentleman out there on YouTube and on Facebook and stuff called Jared Bull. And he just did, well, no, I think it was one of his older videos, but I was just guided to it yesterday. And it was about how to listen, and how we as a society really don't listen to each other. And so very interesting that we're having that particular conversation, because one of my biggest themes in my life that I have been dealing with and really, really getting out in the open this last, say, 6 months to a year, is that of nobody listens to me. Nobody cares what I have to say. Even though I have really important things to share, it's like they turn me off. But we have to remind ourselves, which is why I'm always being reminded, it's not what you guys think. It's kind of the opposite. It's not that people don't pay attention to you or don't listen. Well, one is it's really more of our own frequency that we're giving off of that perpetuating thing, that what we have to say isn't important. And I remember that would happen to me at every company I worked at. I would have the greatest ideas, blah, blah, blah. But yet if I brought it up, it would be just like, but then when somebody else does it a month later, it's like, oh my God, and they run with it. And and I thought, wait a minute, back up the truck here. Whose idea was it? But I never got credit for it. And I thought, why do I keep repeating that same behavior? And so I got to tell you, I still do it. Even in my work, what I do here. Is this important? Why should I be doing this? How does this benefit people? And then I remember. And so, because this is why we need to connect with each other. And this is what I'm here to do, is to help other people through all of this stuff. I probably started dressing even more. I started speaking through clothing and accessorizing, and I wasn't big in makeup, but it became a way for me to be noticed, because no one was listening to anything I had to say. I always felt, but yet it was really interesting, because I always made it to the top of the company everywhere I worked really quickly. But which is kind of strange considering, but what they keep reminding me is, it's not because you're not being heard. It's because we just have this vibration about us that even though we feel like it's really low and that nobody's watching or paying attention, it's so high that actually people can't really handle being around us for very long. And that really is the way you need to look at it. Like, for example, I never trusted myself enough. I have a beautiful camera that I've barely ever used. I don't even know how to use it. My husband bought me this gorgeous SLR, digital, and it's a beautiful camera. And I've barely even used it. And everyone they're like, oh, you got a Rebel? Oh, that's such a good. And I bought a book on how to use it. Don't know how to use it. I don't even know the first thing about none of it. Aperture, lighting, nothing. I went, I'm going to set it on auto and take my chances. And that's just, seriously, isn't that sad? So, so I commend you. I give you a lot of credit. Your work is beautiful. And I can't do people like you do. I won't do people because it's too hard. It's just, but you have a way of capturing it that other people don't. And so, again, are we seeking quantity, for our own self-validation?
Yeah, I always did it just because I liked it.
Me too. I do too. I was doing a project the other day for an audio track that I did, and I have hundreds and hundreds of thousands of photos. And I realized I think I have a problem. Well, because they're not organized and I try, but literally, you know, I can take like 1,000 pictures in a week.
Well, I started with film,
Awesome.
and it was, I mean, I developed my own film, print my own pictures. I still have all the equipment. I don't know what I'm ever going to do with it because.
Well, that's what I said to myself. What am I going to do with all these hundreds? It was my way of speaking to the world that in a way that I could. And so I started posting all this stuff about, you know, just all my photography, because it was my way of, I love taking pictures of the sunlight and the moonlight and the water and how the sun reflects off of the water. And it's just, there's something about nature and wildlife and insects, seeing things really close up, you know, from a different perspective, just completely fascinates me. And, you know, now you see all these shows, you know, I'm thinking about you right now in video, you know, so many of my favorite things now are watching people who do this work, and oh my God, the cinematography, and how do they get these shots, and how do they do this? And then what, I know what it's like for me just when I'm sitting outside trying to get a picture of my hummingbirds. And I'm a patient girl. I mean, I can sit out there for hours just waiting for one shot because I understand photography.
So I used to make a joke to some photography friends that I had online that, because I've got studio lighting equipment, which should still work, but I haven't used it in years. But my joke was that I would take it out in the woods and use my studio lighting to get the pictures that I wanted.
That's awesome.
So I have to tell you that I've watched your videos and followed you for a little bit, but it didn't take very long for me to know that I had to meet you. But the funniest thing is, and I thought there were some similarities, but talking with you, it's weird. I know you're twin.
I don't understand what's happened, and I felt some shit today. I'm just like, ooh.
I mean, I have really, I want to say, maybe the only other person that I'm still friends with. I work with her, and she said to me, like, you're my only friend. And she is your twin, and very similar personality. And
when's her birthday?
I don't know.
Oh, I was just curious if I'm a Sagittarian, so.
I don't know, but I mean, you look exactly the same too.
That's amazing.
That's
really freaky, isn't it? That you would know. Yeah. Wow, that's really crazy.
So, you know, when I saw your video, I wasn't really even thinking that. But I would be watching your video, and I would see like the words friend, like just pop up on the screen. Friend, like friend. And
well, that is why I felt like, I felt like this really instant connection. And I'll tell you, it was really emotional today. I thought, okay, because sometimes I don't even understand. I'm like, well, what does that mean? You know, it's like, why am I crying? You know, it's like, I don't understand it any more than the next guy, you know, but I start to get that information of, you know, you guys are working on such a higher level. You already know each other. This is just every single time I meet someone and become close with them, and this doesn't happen with everyone I meet. Yet I have to say, it happens with almost every single one who comes to me for a session. That's what's so weird about it. So almost, I said I'm trying to think if there have been any exceptions so far. Not really. A couple.
There's some videos that I've watched of you, and you'd be talking and trying to think of the word you want to say, and I'd be like and this is a recorded video. I'd be like, you know, this is what you want to say. Just say it. Just say it. I mean, it's so funny. And then, oh my gosh, I've never really been that interested, I want to say, in tarot reading stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know why. It just, I guess, because in my mind, if you want to know something, just ask.
Just ask. Well, that's
Just
true.
ask.
It is
You don't have
true.
to, yeah. So it was a video, it was recent, last week or
Oh, okay.
something, when you were doing a tarot reading. I was watching a recording. I don't think it was a live thing.
Yeah,
I'm thinking,
no.
and yours, it's for everybody. So you're like, okay, if you want to know something, ask your question.
Oh, yeah, and I said no, and I was surprised because I was like, shoot, I got a resounding no. I don't know what that was about.
Yeah. So I thought to myself, this is a recording. I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to see what happens.
Like, what have I got to lose, right?
and I asked something that I knew the answer was no to, but I was hoping it would be yes. And you're like, no, they're telling you no. and then you pulled out the other cards. You're like, you pulled out the tarot cards to, see what it was all about. And every single thing you said had to do with me.
Oh my gosh.
Like every single thing. You're like pointing out on the card, there's this, there's that, there's this. And I'm like, oh.
Well, it's weird too.
This was meant for me. And
I have
else.
my cards because I have my cards right next to me. And that was another thing as I was getting ready. I like to gather, like I wanted to get my notebook and my, so I was gathering all my notes. And interesting too, this notebook that I chose last night, I've never written in it before. This is a brand new one. Pretty cool colors too, huh?
Yeah.
So a couple of things that I've been receiving with you is I had to laugh because when I talk about blue and you immediately look down at your own shirt. I
usually have blue on. I didn't have.
Do you really? I mean, that's kind of funny that you said that because because I was wondering about that because I kept getting colors, the idea of you and colors. And then I realized, of course, photography. Nobody captures light and colors no one does it like a photographer does. And no one appreciates it like a photographer does. One of my biggest complaints about moving where I moved here was lighting. No matter where I went around this place, I had nowhere where I could sit and do a video that gave me any kind of decent lighting. And forget trying to take my PC outside with my nice microphone. Are you kidding? You can't see yourself. I thought, seriously, people, we have not invented anything yet so we can see our screen outside. I'm like, come on. So I was getting all upset because I couldn't make videos outside. Well, now we've done some renovations around the house and I've got all these new places to explore lighting. So I'm like, oh, maybe I should do my hangout today. Maybe I should do the session sitting out on the front porch because it's a beautiful day. But then I realized, forget it. This microphone will pick up the wind and everything else. And I'm like, oh, forget it. It'll be too loud. And then I said, and I don't know if I'll be able to see myself. But wouldn't you think that by now they would have come up with something where you could actually take your PC or your tablet or your phone outside and actually see it in the sunlight?
Yeah, they have anti-glare screens.
They don't work very well though. But
yeah.
I mean, I've had them, but so I guess I should be asking you, first of all. Normally I don't always start I shouldn't say that. I just jump in wherever they tell me to jump in. So as you can see, I'm not one of these like, oh, and but that doesn't mean that I don't do that too, because I do, as you know, if you've been watching my videos, I do a little of everything. But I do have my cards here too, because it was very interesting because they even told me, the guide said that, because not everybody's into the cards and things, but they often say to me, there is information that can be gleaned through, because spirit speaks through everything, right? And once we begin to understand and believe that. So it was very interesting that I picked this brand new journal up to begin these notes in today. And being that today is 7.7.7, which also equals 21, which equals 3, which is the Holy Trinity. So we've got the trinary consciousness, the really wanting to integrate the body, mind, and spirit. And all of us are wanting to know, okay, what more am I? Why am I not more abundant? Why am I not more, So I guess my question would be a couple of fold for you is, are you happy with is the photography business your sole support?
So I haven't done photography in years.
Oh, okay. So it's okay.
So AJ, who is technically my step grandson, but I raised him since he was a kid.
Okay.
His accident was in 2014. And he was a year in the hospital, which my wife and I spent almost every day in the hospital with him.
Oh my God.
And we had just previously moved to Florida. And so we had to figure out how to bring him to Florida, which thank God worked out fine. But my wife passed away about a year ago. So it is really just me and AJ now. So I don't have time to do any kind of photography.
No, I would say not.
I'm really a computer programmer, and that's what I do.
I did that for a long time. I had a life as a computer programmer.
So
I did it for a short time. It wasn't my cup of tea, but it was back in the Unix days. This was back before there was PCs. This was way. I was following punch cards, but not quite that old. So I'm talking the very beginning we were, green screen, ASCII. Very beginning. When I saw the first mouse, I was like, what the hell is that? Because I still do all my keystrokes the long way. Control A, Control S, Control V, I still use all of that because to me it's faster.
It is faster. Yeah, I work on mainframes.
Oh, so you do the whole big,
screen.
Yeah, real.
Yeah. But now it's, I do programming for aviation related stuff.
Oh my God.
Reservations, check-in systems, security.
Aviation. All morning long, I was discussing aviation with my husband. We were looking up at a little biplane this morning, and I really don't know anything about planes per se, but really that's very interesting that you said that. It kind of freaks me out because not an hour before our session, we're talking about aviation. And I even asked my husband, I said, I know that you fly spaceships. And I said, and I know that you and other timelines are a pilot and one of his best memories is with him and when he was a kid, flying in a little plane with his dad. So it was really interesting. They were talking about aviation this morning. And and I even said to him, I said, you really like those little planes? I said, I'll bet. I said, well, why don't you go? I said, have you thought about getting your pilot's license? He wouldn't now, but it was that's really funny. And then my neighbor across the way here designed some, landing gear or something. And he's an engineer. And so Boeing or somebody bought it and now he's like rolling in the dough. So it's like, that's kind of funny, all this, the air aviation. So now I'm then I start to feel like it reinforces we've been on ships together. You know what I mean? So as we have these conversations, it's about us remembering and putting the puzzle pieces back together of how we know each other in other lifetimes and stuff. So it's kind of cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
I'm sure.
That's quite, I have these things turned off on my phone just for that reason. Sorry about that.
Give me 1 second. Let me just double check.
Oh yeah, go right ahead.
They're out back. I don't know what they're doing.
Okay, I'll get up. I'll get up for a minute myself. I'll pause. All right. There it is. Oops, sorry about that. Ooh. It always helps when you make a noise, doesn't it? All right. So all these connections, and I'm, especially these angelic connections, it's very interesting. So did your wife, when was it something sudden? Was it, I mean, was she ill, or was it?
It was pretty sudden and quick. So she had some kind of cancer that spread to her brain, and it happened so quickly, and essentially got so sick so quickly that they couldn't even do tests to find out for sure what it was.
Oh, it was.
And
I don't know why I was guided to ask. I always say have, because I believe that nobody stops existing. We just transform, but I have an Uncle Dave who passed away a couple years ago from the same exact thing. I mean, it was, so my aunt also, my mom's sister, passed away from the same thing. So very interesting that, and again, the same thing, very, very quick. There wasn't not a lot of time. And so I'm not even sure what that connection is, other than I was just kind of feeling that knowing what that feeling is, I guess. Maybe that, you know what I mean? That I get it, that kind of things.
It was sort of weird because I always knew I had some healing abilities, energy-wise, but also herbal kind of things. And I've always been involved a little bit with herbal kind of things. And so with her, when AJ was in his accident, I tried to heal him all the time. I was with him all the time. I didn't feel the energy myself, but it's sort of funny because now I'm doing it. I sort of just know what I'm doing.
Yep.
But it was the same thing then. I'm not doing anything differently, even though I know better now.
Exactly.
Same exact thing. But with Judy, like, I knew that I had to just let it go.
Yes. I think we sort of know which people come into our lives for a particular reason, that they've made their decision already. And it really has nothing to do with us, because it always has something to do with us, because we create our own universe, right, for a very specific reason. So that actually explains what I was feeling, of this huge rush of healing energy from you, this complete. And I kept hearing archangels. I kept saying that, the divine service of unity, and Archangel Gabriel, and reflections of source. It was like I could feel that you had been a healer in many, many lifetimes, on different levels.
Yeah, I think I was.
And that's what there
are certain things that I've been told, and I have tiny memories of. But for healing, I was told that I was a Mayan shaman.
Well, that makes sense too, because I'm very connected to that whole Mayan thing, and I kept getting pyramid energy from you.
But they didn't tell me that I was like a head Mayan shaman, because I have a memory of like being on top of one of the Mayan pyramids, like sort of. So
that's very interesting, because I wrote down too. Excuse me, the Sphinx, the Lyran Syrians, the lion archetype. It's just very interesting how I was seeing all of very similar information about, and they,
I have a lot of, I mean, I have a lot of names. Not specific memories to go with the names, though.
I get that. I get a lot of names, but I don't know where they fit. I don't know, not always. Sometimes I do, and sometimes I don't.
I know where they fit. I just don't have like a connection. Like certain things I just know. Certain things I know has to be, but I don't have, like, there's not a direct connection that I'm making other than just knowing, just through research, I guess is the best way to put it.
I was just going to say, sometimes it's just about a gathering of information. It's more about.
But I found that the majority of the research that I've done shows that the history is not accurate. So,
exactly. That is true. That is true.
But
I'm feeling, all of a sudden I get that feeling in my solar plexus and my throat chakra and my heart chakra. Nyashataki miyasatasaniti kiyasatashami halale anawaka ashununania. Setosonota shishipala halakomba sintina niata. Kamura ilia sososomashiwa helakiama. Nisatashimia imaniawa alakora shashisheta. Sanakila kiamaniako apo satasantikiana nanaka. Shonotoriamba aleshanototikieko tapala halakomanania satase. Sinatikianania satosasa. So I get these flashes and then they start to make me really emotional. Like I start to want to cry. So I start to see us in different, in our different aspects. Like I'll see like a flash of an Arcturian, or I'll see us on a ship. I could feel the great healing powers that you had within you right away. It was actually starting yesterday. I kept feeling that angel, service. So it was very interesting. That you said that about, about AJ and about your wife and healing, and because I really had no idea that you were already, aware of that part, of yourself. So maybe I did. Seto somatikisa notasama I toshinata tebolaki. Sonotasimeta ininkia sotosa iwa. Well, this is interesting. I was guided to this deck. This is message from your animal spirit guides, and it's the kiwi, and it says do a walking meditation each day for the next week. And it's interesting because it's surrounded by blue energy.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So apparently, there's some information that's going to come to you. That you'll be received that during this walking meditation. And I don't know if that's something that you're, are you able to do that? I mean, can you, leave long enough to get a few minutes to yourself to be able to do something like that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I should be able to.
Okay.
I should be able to.
Okay.
I've learned to be able to get in a meditative state very quickly. So
Me too.
I don't need to meditate to communicate to things.
Me either. See, this is why you and I cut through all the bullshit, because we know, I will never deny that crystals don't hold information and that there are gratuitous powers to them. I also believe that water holds, in information. But what I will say is at the end of the day, what I do know is I don't need not a one of them.
Well, it's funny you say that too, because I like crystals. I didn't know that I liked them as much as I do.
I had a rock collection when I was a kid. You remember when we were kids?
Oh,
We'd have the rocks and minerals, and we would go, man, I would go to the museum and we'd have the rocks and minerals, and I had all the names, and I had the rock tumbler and the whole 9 yards, man. I love that shit.
So there were a couple, I was guided, I want to say, to get some crystal skulls.
Oh, yeah.
And a Lemurian crystal.
I have a Lemurian crystal. Here's my jade skull.
Yeah. Pretty cool.
He's very small.
I have a little tiny skull. I don't know if you can see it. The Moldavite.
Oh, yes, the Moldavite guy. Hold it up a little bit. There you go.
There we go.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Hey, dudes.
So I'll give you a very quick story.
Uh-huh.
So I asked, like, do I need to get these? And they're like, no, you don't have to get them, but it'd be really cool for you to have. So I have one skull that is was activated by a lady in Mount Shasta.
Yes.
And that's pretty cool. And I haven't spent tons of time with them because I've got to concentrate on other things.
Exactly.
But that had some interesting information because I was involved with crystal skulls in Mayan time and also
very interesting.
way back.
I'm very connected to that idea. I work a lot with my friend Will Mitchell about the crystal skulls. So that's just another connection between the two of us.
So I got the Lemurian crystal, and it's funny because that crystal, it's just records. So it's got recording of things from back to that time, where the crystal skull was programmed, maybe by me, but programmed with information and sort of kept track of things from that point on. So the Lemurian crystal knows more history than the crystal skull.
Got it.
Now, this skull here that I brought, I met a guy who I'm pretty darn sure is a light being, who told me about this, and he said you should try to get one. So I got it. I found one because they're really hard to find, especially as a skull, the Moldavite. I found one, and I thought it was fake because when you look at it, it is really intricately carved. And I thought it doesn't look like a hand carved thing, but it took me a day or two for him to get to know me, and then talk to him. I was able to talk to him fine. And so I told this guy that I got it, and I showed him a picture of it, and he's like, okay, well, I'll see if I can connect into it for you. And that night, he connected into it, but he never told me he connected into it, but he connected into it. I don't know if he connected into it consciously or his soul connected into it, but he connected into it because the skull woke me up in the middle of the night and said, I talked to Paul. It was so exciting. He woke me up. I never awesome. So yesterday, because I felt you all day.
I was there all day, man. I couldn't even concentrate on my own stuff.
So for a couple of minutes, I went and I laid down and I meditated, and I was holding the crystal skull, and I didn't even ask his name yet, because so the Moldavite was created by an asteroid or some kind of thing from outer space that hit the Earth and created glass. So there's substance from the asteroid or meteorite or wherever it came from that's part of the glass. So when I first started talking to it, it basically said, it's been here on Earth for, 15 million years. And it was in space for millions of years before that. And it was like pretty lonely. Didn't have anybody to talk to.
Exactly.
So he was really excited to talk to Paul because he's I'm pretty sure he's a light being. And yesterday he's like, you have to let me talk to Wendy. You can't talk to her without me.
That's hilarious.
So, and there's another girl that I talk to on occasion, and she does videos, and it literally said, like, I want to see her. And I was holding it in my palm while I was laying down, and holding it in my palm, just squeezing it so I could feel more of it, because it's pretty strong energy. And it is literally like poking me in the hand saying, no, I want to watch.
Isn't that, see, now most people would think that we were nuts if we talked about, like, but I get it. I completely get it, you know, and
they're watching the video on my phone, holding it up.
And they'll even tell me, like, before a session, you know, what things to pick out for certain people. And I was just, I could feel, how do I explain it? I could feel your, like, this, just that level of understanding that, you know, like you said, it's like, you know, it's nice to have. And yes, we definitely communicate with them. There was a reason why I kept seeing farm fields, because where I lived before I moved down to Tennessee full time, I lived up north of Chicago, in the suburbs of Chicago, and we lived like right on Lake Michigan almost, and it was freaking cold, man, cold. And 9 months out of the year it was cold, you know, so most of my videos were outside in the cold and in the winter. But that rock that I found yesterday, I'm telling you, it called out to me, man, and it said, Dave. It was like, I remember the moment I was walking through the farm field doing that video, and I saw that rock and it had that etching in it, and I thought, what is this? And I remember I found it, and if I'm not mistaken, I bet I even went back the next day. I think I even left it there, and I think I went back the next day and did a video and actually picked it up that day, because I was like, and for some reason I kept seeing farm fields yesterday. And then when you told me about raising tobacco, and then plus I used to smoke tobacco, so me and tobacco have a love-hate relationship. And you know, now I love it because it's not in my life. But very funny that, because I understand, like most people don't, that plants are teaching plants, every single one of them. And tobacco is one of the most important teaching plants we have on this planet. I'll tell you what, I learned more from tobacco. I'm not kidding. I learned more from tobacco about myself and about my own power, and about stepping in and out of my own power, about my own self-worth, about my own self-value, about how I let people treat me because of something I did. How I just, you name it. Very powerful plant it is. So whether you smoke it or don't smoke it or whatever, or never did, or in your case, you know, raising it. Plus now that I live in Tennessee, you know, huge tobacco fields around here between Kentucky and Tennessee and all that. So, and you know, there's tobacco is a huge part of my entire family for generations. And I was the one to break.
Your fault that I grew tobacco.
I was the one who broke the chain, actually, in my own family. My sister, well, I shouldn't even say that out loud, but I only have one person in my family who still hasn't quite broken the chain. But she doesn't smoke it. She just takes it in chemical form now. So, you know, but nonetheless, it was a huge teaching. It's a huge teaching situation for me in a lot of ways. And very interesting how something like that can make such an impact on generations. It's kind of interesting. It really is. Well, this one's the Gateway Oracle. And this says, I stand in the light of truth, dwelling in truth. And, you know, I'm going to laugh again because it's blue. So now we've got blue and yellow, that's really standing out because the blue and the yellow connects, you know, that connects your throat chakra to your solar plexus chakra. So I'm really feeling that connection. Like when we very first started talking, and I said I could feel, how when your emotions get stuck in your throat, you feel something in here, but you can't, when we can't speak our truth or whatever. So you and I both growing up feeling as if we were invisible, But the other thing I wanted to say to you is dwelling in the truth. A lot of times we look at things as negatives when we have to remember we create our own reality, and we do it. Yes, sometimes we do it unconsciously by our frequency based upon beliefs about ourselves that are not congruent with what our higher self believes about us. That's why we feel like crap sometimes when we think about something, because it's something that is not true. It's not and never will be true. And that's why we feel the resistance. We feel sick inside when we think about something that our higher self or source, God, whatever you choose to call it, well, our higher self is a fractal of source, a higher dimensional fractal of source. But when we think about something that isn't congruent, we feel icky, and we're not sure why, but it's just a compass. It's just to tell us that's not true. So you and I grew up believing we didn't matter. We were invisible and all this other stuff. But what they also reminded me of is I literally could be standing outside in the parking lot at work, and I would see a boss coming, and I'd be like, all right, I need to be invisible. Swear to God, they could walk right by me and not see me. And I thought, this shit works, man. If you believe it works, it works. So what they were saying to me is that, we create our own reality. And a lot of times those of us who, and I was really bold inside, but I never let it out. Like I didn't let myself say it. You know what I mean? And I'm laughing because my phone shows Los Angeles time and it's 11:28, and that's my birthday is 11:28. So I'm laughing right now inside. So dwelling in the truth for real. So because what they're saying too is that a lot of the things that we looked at as negatives were actually things that we were able to do that other people didn't believe that they could do. And I don't know. So you say, okay, so we say, then how do we put a positive spin on the fact that when we're in the middle of a conversation, and believe me, this happens with my family all the time, where all of a sudden they can completely change the subject, and it's as if you just never said a word. It's as if what you just were talking about was completely irrelevant. But what we have to understand is it's just too high for them. And just like us becoming invisible or wallflowers, they're showing me right now, and for some reason I can't get elves out of my head, because elves have this ability. They're very magical beings, and they have this ability to be able to move through the dimensions and to be able to hide in plain sight. They're here physically around us. Oh, we can't see them, but they're there. So you and me, have this ability. Well, we all do, but most of us don't understand it or don't exercise it. To literally disappear or move or become, part of the wall, if that's what we want to do, but because we sometimes it's a defense mechanism in some ways, because now they're telling me which came first, the chicken or the egg. We go and we start a conversation with somebody, and all of a sudden it's as if what we're saying is unimportant. However, what they would like us to understand, which they reminded me of many times, is you have to remember who's in charge here. This is your universe. Therefore, you are the one who's already decided their frequency isn't high enough for you. That's a way different way to think about it. Because do you really enjoy sitting there bantering about small talk with people that are meaningless? I don't know about you. So there's a different way to think about things, and they keep showing me all of the things that I saw as faults, or they said, no. These were I wanted to say defense mechanisms, but that's a kind of a negative. It's more of a power. It's more of a,
So,
I stand in the light of truth. It's more of, you are exercising your power, but we don't look at it as exercising our power.
yeah, so I agree 100% with what you said, and I, it's it's so weird how alike we are.
I'm happy.
But
You know how happy that makes me?
I didn't know there was somebody else like me.
And I didn't know there was anybody else like me. I tell myself that all the time. My husband's so great, and he's so supportive and everything, and he really does. He's so loving and everything, but he just really doesn't really get it in that way. And he doesn't pretend to, and he doesn't, and I don't expect him to either. But, I just, it's hard. It's lonely. It's really, really lonely. And so when you come across people, even on the internet, that, how many people I started watching that started doing this a long, long time ago. And I just knew it was something I was not supposed to be doing, but I was like, why am I listening to this light language or this person? And why am I just crying because I feel as if I've met someone who finally, I don't know, even thinks or exists in a dimension that I do. I've been, so alone for so long. And it's interesting how you can be in a party and be lonely, or I could even be the life of the party and still be extremely lonely.
So I try to put importance on other people, but
I
it's just
know.
funny how you say before you even start that
This is just, why bother? I'm just doing this to be polite, and I don't want to hurt their feelings, and I want to belong. I want so much to belong that I want somebody to know that what I have to say is just as important. But it's weird. It's almost as if in a few minutes, they get this vibe and they go, sometimes I think that I don't even know how to.
with a lot of times with me, the person will bring up the subject, and they're like passionately talking about this thing, and I would know something about it, and I would be able to contribute, and I would think, they would be interested. But what I really know is they think that they're the smartest one in the room
Yes.
about that. And as soon as I show that I know something more, they get rid of that subject because it's so funny.
I'm gonna tell you something, and this is just between you and me, even though it's recorded, but I'm gonna tell you something that's exactly, how how many times it happens to me with other people in the light language world? And I just got a shiver, and I'm not gonna go there, but I know that's all I needed to say. It happens to me all the time. So, especially the people who've been doing it a long time. So I get it. Do you know how many people don't want to do hangouts with me or live events with me? I'm too bright. They don't want that. They're not then the ones who are, and I get it. It's okay. It's okay.
And I don't mind other people getting the limelight. I don't care at
I
all.
never wanted to be,
No.
never wanted to be in the spotlight or but you know what? It made me realize that maybe it's not that I wanted to be in the spotlight, but I wanted to be given the same respect as everyone else got. And when I didn't get it, but it was that I wasn't getting it for different reasons. It wasn't the reasons I thought. It wasn't because I wasn't important. It was because they knew I would become too important, and they didn't want that. You know how many people I would start out at my job I would come in at the lowest level, and within weeks I would be the boss. Do you know how many people hate that when that happens? Especially if you happen to even be remotely cute. Oh my God, you couldn't possibly have a brain. And so people think that you can't be, people think that people like you and I can't be, what is even the word? we're all being judged, we're all being judged. And I have gotten to the point, and I think that you are too, or we wouldn't be together right now, is that we finally get to the point where, I'm tired of not shining my light because you're too worried about being dim. Fuck that. Not anymore. No, I'm not doing. I got so tired of that, and I still battle this every day. I'm tired of not, being myself because I'm too worried about somebody else in the spiritual world. I'm not in competition with nobody but me. I want to be better than I was the day before, and that's all I freaking care about. That's it. Who was I yesterday, and how can I be better today? And yesterday doesn't exist anyway because everything's now. It's all an illusion. We're all having a three-dimensional experience as conscious beings. This is just but a sliver of the lives that we are leading together right now. Just one little tiny sliver. This is just right now, you and I and all of our other aspects are like, yeah, baby. Because we're like, you guys finally are showing your light enough on the earth now to find each other, my family to this day, this is an example I will share with you about not being heard. Do you know how many times I've told my mother and my sister, and I think I might have even mentioned it even to my children, that I have a YouTube channel, that I do live meditations, and now I never say anything about light languages. Nobody except for my husband and my husband's brother and his wife know I speak galactic light languages. None of them. They know I do all this other healing stuff, and I talk to angels, and they've even seen my galactic scribes and all of that. I've showed them all of that. But there's this line. But the ironic part about all this is, don't you think that my own mother and my sister would say, oh, really? You're on YouTube? Can I watch one of your videos? Never once. But do you see what I'm talking about frequency? They're not even close to being ready. And then can you imagine if they did watch it and the splaining I'd have to be doing? They'd be like, what is that? And even my brother-in-law, who, their mom used to go and, go to these healers and people that spoke in tongues and all the, and stuff. And yet even his brother's like, still kind of keeps me a little bit arm's length, because he thinks I'm pretty awesome, but he even told his wife something like, oh my God, the most beautiful yellow butterfly is hanging right outside my window right now. Oh my God. Talk about transformation and yellow solar plexus energy. Oh, what a beautiful butterfly. Sorry. I'm like, oh, shiny thing. Woo. It just felt like it was a message of transformation for you, us, whatever, this moment, whatever. But you see what I'm saying? That I'm hiding in plain sight. We're all hiding in plain sight. And people who aren't ready for our light are either going to instinctively back away, which all my life I took it so personally, like, what's wrong with me? There must be something wrong with me that people don't want to be around me. And what they're telling me now is, especially over the last few years, is, you need to walk into your light, baby, and walk into your power. The reason they don't want to be around you is this is just because nobody wants to be reminded when they're not. It's like nobody wants to be reminded of something they should be doing, right? It doesn't matter what it is. Somebody who's eating junk food hates somebody who doesn't. Somebody who smokes hates people who don't. That's just the way it is. So, we're constantly worried. We're still comparing ourselves to other people. But the point is, they're never going to be in our frequency. They're never going to find me on YouTube because they're not looking for me. My own family, if they really wanted to, all they'd have to Google is Wendy Wolf. That's the name I was born under. Seriously, that's all they'd have to do is Google me, and the cat would be out the bag. They don't even think about it. It's weird as shit. Journey by the Moonlight, Believe in Magic. Oh, my friend, look at these cards for you. Now, if that ain't fairies and elves and shit, I don't know what is. Journey by the Moonlight. Now, I'll tell you, I shouldn't say most, a lot of my information comes at the moonlight. Now, I will say to you, this card came up on purpose because we've got a full moon coming. And this is going to be a really major freaking full moon. And I'm not up on, I know there's a lot of planetary, we got a bunch of planets going retrograde, but Jupiter, my ruling planet, is going forward here real soon. So anyway, this whole thing about the full moon coming up is really powerful for us, all of us collectively. Look at the elves and stuff.
Yeah.
So that confirms my elf thing, that you and I are definitely elementals and have definite elf connections. I have seen so much elf stuff in the last couple of days, and it's been very, very intense for me. And the connections. And then when I was asking my guides about, and I did, by the way, too, I checked with my pendulum about a few things because I thought, come on. It was like, am I really getting all this information? And so I did, and then talk about talking to your stones. Even my pendulum will say to me, my pendulum's named Charlotte. She's Charlie for short. Even my pendulum, Charlie, will say to me, really? Do you really need to ask me? Okay, if you must go through this exercise. So that actually validates for me. We've got the fairy. Oh my God. Look at the butterfly wings.
Oh, yeah. That you just saw.
Okay. That's very exciting. Okay, so now for sure, okay, when's the full moon? Is that, I don't even know. It's in a couple of days. It's
17th or 18th or something like that.
Yeah, it's like coming up here. So yeah, definitely spend some time out in the full moon. And I don't always do this. This is another one of those permission slip things, but they're telling me right now to take, I've got so many crystals and stuff here. You probably can't even see this. It's actually here. Oops. There are all kinds of goodies over here. Even my rubber duck. So you got to have, and my lion back there. So you got to have a little fun in life. So a bunch of my stuffed animals are still packed, unfortunately. So yeah, I just wanted to show you my little entourage here. So I've got all this stuff here, and so they're saying to me, the full moon. Oh, the doves are outside. I don't know if you can hear them. They're so pretty. To put something outside, maybe your Moldavite guy, maybe on the full moon, and they're telling me to do the same thing. So I'm telling you the same thing. They're telling both of us to grab something. And of course, the first thing I went for is the skulls. So how about if we intend together that on the full moon, we, if you can, let it sit outside, but if you're not comfortable with that, sit with it outside in the full moon, and I'll do the same thing. And they're telling me that actually they can connect to each other then, our two skulls, and that will actually, see, I'm getting the things again. So they're telling me that actually we can intend connections, to increase our connections and rememberings, and visions and stuff like that. Not only they're telling me not only singularly, like for ourselves, but for each other, that we can, by doing it under the full moon, because it really does amplify, the power. And then the full moon, of course, is the reflection of the sun off of the moon. So it's really sunlight that we're looking at, truly, if you think about it. It's really sunlight.
So the atmosphere at night allows more of the energies to get through, because the atmosphere is, it's not really thinner, but there's less
Yeah, there's like less going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you actually could have more, especially at a full moon, you could have more of the energies that are not just light energies that actually can reach you. The moon's my friend.
Exactly. So
So
very interesting how that
we can do
card
that.
prompted that whole message about us doing that, and together that we can actually intend a whole nother layer of connections together by doing that in the full moon. I'm seriously, I don't know what, this does not happen in every session with people where I'm just, this whole time, my whole skin has been like, it's just, I can't even explain it. It's just so weird.
What if I were to tell you before the session that this was going to be different? Would you believe me?
I would completely believe you. I mean, completely. I mean, even you just saying that sent a whole charge through, oh yeah, I just, woo. And I keep all of my bracelets. These are I have all my healing bracelets on and things. And I keep all my bracelets. I don't know if you can see it. This on my big pyramid. It's a copper pyramid. So I keep all my bracelets. Oh, I forgot my heart one. I'm not sure if this is, I can't remember what stone this is. I don't remember. I don't know my stones very well, but I'll put my heart one on too. So they're
White jade.
connecting our hearts. It does sort of look like jade.
There's white jade.
He told me what it was and I forgot.
I bet you it's white jade.
I'm gonna look that up. It was a gift from someone, another healer. He's a Reiki master. Will Mitchell. He's the one who I do a bunch of events with him and stuff. And yeah, this card is really reaching out to me, this journey by moonlight.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of seems to go along with your Kiwi guide too. Do a walking meditation each day for the next week. And so who knows, maybe you need to get out at nighttime too, under the moonlight. Did you have a particular, and I should have asked this a long time ago, but do you have any particular questions, or do you have anything in particular that you'd like to actually intentionally ask, invite, activate, anything like that we can, anything intentional? I mean, I'm okay with I usually just let spirit take things where they go.
I mean, I'm okay. I mean, I sort of know that I have to let things happen when they're going to happen. I actually got yelled at about it.
Yeah, me too. They yell at me all the time about that. I'm about the most impatient person. Hey, when's your birthday?
August 25th.
Okay, so yours is coming up yet then. Are you Leo? Virgo. Okay, you're right after Leo. Okay.
Yep. So I was actually basically told, yes, you're ready. Yes, it's not you. It's just not time. You have to wait.
That's funny. One of my readings, one of my Sagittarius readings I was listening to the other day said something about a Virgo in my life. That's kind of interesting. Yes, boy, I don't know what it is. I guess I put that heart bracelet on. I'm just, the heart energy from you, this whole is really, really strong. I mean, it really is. It's more than maybe you even realize. It's almost as if I could actually see your aura right now, it would be just like glowing and green. It's just like this whole green heart chakra energy. I just feel it emanating off of you. It's very interesting. Maybe that's one of the reasons why you and I are also guided to things like plants and, farm. Much of my meditations and my early videos came from walking in the farm fields. Something very magical happened to me when I would walk in those farm fields. I don't know what. I would connect to all kinds of beings. I would connect to other races. I had orbs following me. I was able to photograph orbs. I had hybrid children speak to me when I was walking in the farm fields. I mean, there's something about, I don't know, the cycles of nature, plants, green, maybe because they carry the color of heart chakra energy. I don't know what it is exactly.
So I thought of something maybe I would like to know.
Okay.
So I understand that maybe I should be speaking out a little bit more. But I think my situation with AJ is that we're still supposed to be hiding, I want to say. And my question is that true, number one? But number two, should I be trying to communicate to other things? Because I'll give you an example, like that sheet of frequency codings. Some of them I know what they are, but I don't know what most of them are. And I could probably figure it out, but I sort of feel like I should not be.
You don't need to.
Doing that.
You don't need to. You know, really weird. I was questioning something. Do you know who Brad Johnson is?
No.
Okay. I'll send you the link to his video. Really very interesting. As I was hopping in the shower this morning, I received a guidance to watch this video. Now, this video is like 3 years old. It's like from 2015. And there was 2 reasons why I was guided to that video. One was because I had questions that I needed to know. And one was just now I realized because you needed to see it. So I will send you the link to it. Spot on. What he said was what I've said in many of my videos, which is what they've been telling me. And it reiterated my question to my own guides this morning about these light codes and these symbols and all of this other stuff. And you're going to find you're going to find your answers in that video, but the answers is we are so multidimensional that it's going to mean different things at different times. And I will even open things in my old sketchbooks from years ago, and that I've even forgotten I've done. And they'll for some reason I just walk over to the book and I flip to a particular page because they're like, if you understand how you create time and that everything is now, and that you're experiencing moment by moment by moment is a new moment over and over again. And the only reason we believe there's continuity to it is because we have to in order for this experience to feel real. But our life is nothing more than a bunch of projected images, just like a movie. When they make a movie, very rarely do they shoot the movie beginning to end. Very rarely does it happen. You'll have them doing this part here and there, and then somebody in a room puts it all together and makes it look like one linear story. That's our lives. That's how we create reality. Our lives, one moment to the next, are not connected. You and I are not even the same people we were 2 hours ago. So the point is that if we can disconnect that, we start to understand how reality really works, that we understand every moment is new over and over again, and we have a new opportunity, that the only reason we continue this continuity is because we need to, otherwise we would probably go crazy. You wouldn't be able to function in this world if you believed that every moment was not connected to the last. You wouldn't be able to live here. That's why we do what we do here, is because this place, Earth, is the only place that you can do that. So when we begin to understand that, we begin to understand the power we have to recreate ourselves moment by moment. So so the question is, when you say in hiding, are the reasons why, and I guess I don't even need to ask why did you feel that way, but are are the reasons still valid today that they were before, even though the reasons are just a belief you keep thinking. A thought is, a belief is just a thought you keep thinking. So the question is what is the thought that remains there, that may or may not apply anymore to this moment? Is there something that a lot of times we hang on to something for that continuity because we're just too afraid to let it go because we don't know what's going to happen next.
Well, so.
And the symbols are different every time you look at them. So they can activate something different every time. And our light bodies are not, our minds are not supposed to necessarily figure out what it's supposed to mean, because believe me, I've got volumes of this stuff. I wish I knew what half of it is. I will say that it goes a bunch of different ways. One moment it could be a being talking to me. One minute it's a message that's filled with packets of information that I could possibly never write out, but I can only absorb it. And yet I could look at something different every time. Oh, it's like have you ever heard a song 100 times in your life and all of a sudden one day you go, oh, that's what they mean. That's what they mean. Or that's what they were saying. It's like, I missed the whole meaning of the song all my life because I just figured out what they were saying. So light languages, symbols, they can be used over and over and over again. For example, the information that I receive for an individual, the reason why they help, they attune us, they attune us to a particular frequency that we've been asking for. And then we receive it by way of meeting an individual such as myself who's able to pull through that information that you are also perfectly capable of doing. This is not, once you decide you want to do it and you activate it for whatever reason, it's part of you now. I joke about that sometimes. I like to help people work through their stuff, but most of the time, once this is done in the activation, it's like the best patient is the one you never see again, right? So I'm not one of these, people that, come back again and again. It's, for me, it's almost as like, this was your stepping stone to light the fire under you, to activate yourself. Not that we can't do this all the time, but the point is that it's always going to be different every time. We aren't always supposed to. We're supposed to take our mind, and it's like praying, meditating, even light language for me is like telling the universe what it is that my heart wants, even though I can't put it into words myself. It's just saying what my heart wants to say. And so when we receive these codes, or we write them, or we share them, or we look at them, time and time again. Oops. Oh, now see, the one that fell out is the one that's torn off of the page. This is a sacred circuit from Sirius. Now, these actually came through Bashar, who's channeled by Daryl Anka. He's you'll have, if you're interested, you can look it up. But anyway, these are symbols from Sirius, and number 11 means realize. And so even when I look at this symbol, every time I look at it, I can feel or see something different. And kind of funny how today this would show up too, the whole 11. We were talking about 11 earlier in the gateway and everything in 2018 equal 11. But there's something about this that when I look at this symbol, I get excited. I go, oh my God, I'm so happy. This is how I feel when I realize something, like, oh, And so it's funny how that particular one fell out, but of course it's the one that's, not connected. But this was one of my very first sketch pads that I ever did. And it's funny because I can look, oh, I love this one. This is one of my favorites. And so as I look at these symbols each time now, I didn't, I was so bad too back then. I didn't really date this stuff. So this is like from 2014 or 15 or I don't know when. But I look at back at a lot of these symbols, and I'm like, every time I look at them, they give me some new information. So I was just flipping through to see which ones might be good activating for you. And some of them repeat themselves over time, and I'll see that I've made the same ones over and over again, throughout the years, or similar ones. And I actually do start to receive, like, sometimes like what star systems they're from. Like this one's from about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 star systems. Oh, here, you'll love this one, Mr. Computer Guy. It's just binary, ones and zeros. I have not a clue what it says or what I learned how to read and what I mean, count and read and binary and stuff, but yuck. But anyway, sometimes I'll be sitting, and all of a sudden in the middle of the night, and I mean, like I'll be sitting there and it'll be like 11 o'clock at night and I'm meditating, and all of a sudden they'll go, psst, go get your pad. And I'm like, oh. So I go get and I'll just start writing 1 zeros, 1 1 1, just start writing all these ones and zeros. And I'm like, and something happens to me. It's like something gets activated, or I start to cry, or I start to go off into these meditations into other realms. And I'm like, what the hell just happened to me? I don't make videos about this stuff because what am I going to say? What am I going to say in a video? Oh, well, this thing happened to me last night, but I have no idea what, I guess I could say that, but, So this one is like, I think like 7 different star systems, but they go this way. Now, what does this all mean? No clue. These are like some of my favorites. I love these.
So my idea is, since nothing's real anyway,
right?
If you have the intention to understand what it is,
then you will
understand what it is.
Yep.
But the binary thing, so I'm going to tell you what I thought. It's not like a number. It's not like a code. It's not like, so computers, letters are represented by numbers, and you could encode them and translate them.
Right.
So this is what I want to say with the binary. Like I could write a program to do it in like a minute, but have a metrodome, and every time the metrodome goes once, you go to the next number. But for every number, it's either light or no light. And if you watch the flashes, it would be like a light language thing.
Oh my God. It's almost like you've just invented a new way to read light language. You know what I mean? Like, oh my God. That's cool.
So that would be like an easy way to do it. You could make it into frequency too, but flashes of light.
See?
Is simple. Ones and zeros.
See, maybe this is why we were supposed to talk, because they're, I'm getting that energetic cheer, like, woohoo,
Go back to the 1111 guy.
That's what it is. it's the realized dude.
There he is.
Ta-da! I love that. See? I'm telling you, that's the kind of thing, like, have you ever seen plant music where people actually hook up the EEG machines to the plants? Yeah. And they really do make sound. We don't hear it. It's like a dog whistle. We go out into nature and we hear all this beautiful music that's talking to our light body, even though our ears can't hear the frequency. And then we wonder why we feel so good when we're in nature. It's like, wake up, people. Music. Okay, come on. You cannot make this stuff up. Music in harmony.
Yeah.
and the trees and the doves, well, the white birds. Okay, come on. Seriously. We're just now talking about plant music and nature. Now, this reinforces, though, to me, all right, each one of these, the music of the plants, you being outside, is going to help you dwelling in your truth and standing in the light of your own truth. And you're the Kiwi guy for spending time outside, your walkabout every day. Yep, where'd the other one go?
Walkabout.
Yeah, your walkabout with the Kiwi. So all of these things are showing me that you're going to, this time outside, oh yeah, the full moon one. That was the other one, the full moon one. Here it is.
Yep.
Journey in the Moonlight. So Journey by Moonlight, believe in magic. So each one of these, this is a story about you and this time you're going to be spending outside in this daily ritual. And that even if you only have a minute, they said, take the minute. Don't let the time factor. How many times have you walked over to just the kitchen and you opened up the cabinet and you had like an epiphany? It only takes a moment is what they're telling me, that even if you can't carve out what you believe is the perfection time of walking outside and this and that, they said, even if it's for a minute and you walk outside and, look where, whatever, that it's going to help you with that finding your light and that blue, throat chakra energy, finding your own inner music and harmony. So now back to the question about the symbols and things. So it's like, again, music and harmony, like I've mentioned a few times, we can hear a piece of music that has no words at all, and it can bring us to tears or laughter. It can take us to another time. How many times you can hear a song on the radio and you are immediately catapulted to the moment you heard it, what you were doing, who you were with, so music has that power, and light languages and these symbols are much like music in that they can speak to you, even if there's no lyrics in a song. It's like listening to a symphony or, just a beautiful piece of music that you can literally, well, I can anyway. I have a kind of a strange reaction to music more than most people, which is a little strange, but where I can actually, just be weeping and I'm like, what is up with that? Where did that come from? So very interesting how they're showing me the connection between all of this, and these little sojourns of yours outside, funny. Now, these just came out. Valiant courage, take action with passion, desert passage, trust, desert passage, trust, there's a divine plan. I'm so glad this is being recorded. Vast vistas, expand your horizons. Now, these all just flipped over by accident. So, and that was all underneath the Journey by Moonlight. So, very interesting, my dear. Very, very interesting.
I've learned that the trick in discovery is not to try to be discovering, and to have your, you really need to have your head clear and not be trying to find the answer, and then the answer comes.
That's exactly it. You just hit the nail on the head.
But here's the really funny thing that just made me think of this. So I noticed in a lot of your videos that you really like watching the birds.
I do.
There's a thing that I do often that sort of helps me clear my head. And you're going to laugh your ass off when you hear me tell you what it is. It's a video game that I play on my tablet. Angry Birds.
Angry Birds. I knew you were going to say that. That was...
And I don't really...
My husband never plays video games, and nor do I. And Angry Bird was the only one he ever really played with or liked on his phone at all, ever.
It's the only one I ever play. And I don't really try to play it. I just
play.
I'm good at it, so I play it, but it's the one thing that really just clears my head entirely and lets ideas come in. I mean, I could sort of do it if I'm meditating, but I could just sit and be playing that. And sometimes I try to let my guardian angels take control and let them play, but it doesn't really work that well.
Yeah, I don't know.
Sometimes when I try to do that, they beat my score. They laugh at me.
Yeah.
But
I don't think they're quite as interested in our three-dimensional toys as we are, you know.
They say they get a kick out of Angry Birds.
But they like us. They enjoy our. What did they just say? I forgot what the word they just said.
Or humanly entertainment.
Yeah, it was something like started with an F. I was like, what did you guys just say? Folly, like folly or frolicking, something like that. Folly, I think it was. Imasata shnia kiasata saniki aumaya shatate sanitila sineti awa ishnobea wakalia. Nakita sanata say. So yeah, it's kind of funny because I don't feel a lot of need for pomp and circumstance so much with you. It's kind of interesting how I start to do something and they're like, yeah, you really don't need to do that. I'm like, all right, you know, so I kind of go with, you know, but what I am feeling is that there is a message for you, and I don't know if it's going to be completely just light language or if there's going to be anything else, because I never do know for sure, but I just feel like there's something that there's an illumination. They like to use the word illumination more than activation in some instances, although they really are in some ways that it's just a you know, terminology, if you will, but they're different in certain ways. There's certain things that are waiting to be like lit up inside of us, and then there's certain things inside of us that are to be activated. And so there is a difference. I'm not even clear completely on the difference, but they're telling me there's a difference. And so I think one is, okay, so they're showing me that one, like activations are a way of turning things on that we're, okay, just slow down a second. When we're ready for something, we send out a frequency that tells our higher selves and our guides we're ready for something more. Then we receive some information, downloads, codes, even a meeting like this, for example. And there are activations that take place that allow your body, it's like an electrical impulse. It's like there is like an electrical stimulation that's happening. We know that we're electric beings. I just talked about this yesterday about electricity and electric, and our hearts can stop and start by, you know, electricity. So, and that we're mostly water, you know. So actually, if you think about it, it's kind of surprising that you could have an electric heartbeat immersed in a body full of water. Kind of freaky if you think about it, isn't it? So we're pretty spectacular beings if you think about it, you know. So because, you know, a spark of electricity can kill you, you know. So because we're water beings. But the point is that we have these things that are being activated within us that are literally light synapses, like you said, the light. There's light codes that are like ones and zeros that are going off in our body that we're literally being, it activates us in a way, maybe from a computer programming standpoint, it's like, we used to write code for different packages. So we had general ledger, inventory, all these other, you know, accounts payable and all this other stuff. But it's almost like they're showing me without the, oh no, how can that be? Hang on. My computer came unplugged. I was like, uh-oh, how did that happen? Can't let that happen. Where is it? Oh, there it is.
Could you hear me?
Yeah, hang on. I'm plugging in my computer.
Let me just check AJ quick.
Sure, go ahead.
Oh, you're doing that.
Yeah, go ahead.
I have a Bluetooth
There we go.
headset, so I can still hear you.
Okay. Oh, good.
One sec.
Okay. Yeah, make sure they're doing okay. I know we're running long.
You okay, Age? Have you been weight shifting?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Wait, is that fine?
Yeah, you want to go on? Much nicer in here, I think. Yes. Huh? What? Yeah, I know that. How you doing? I know you did.
Oh, jeez. I don't believe it. If it wasn't recording, we wouldn't believe it, right? Unbelievable. I just, I can't get over this stuff. So you stand up. I see your chair is blue. The chair I'm sitting on is blue, even though you can't see it. But oh yeah,
I see it.
It's blue. So I thought I was done with the cards. They're like, oh no, one more. Throat chakra. I speak my truth and encourage others to speak theirs. That is the last part of your message. I don't believe the throat chakra came up. It was the very first thing I said to you when we came into this session. And I was just shuffling here and I was like, if this wasn't recorded, I wouldn't believe it myself. And look what this too reminds me of, the smoke, how they said to you about the smoke.
Yeah.
Isn't that weird? Wow. And she's all blue and I'm in a blue dress. She's in a blue dress. You're in a blue chair and I'm in a blue chair. Okay. And you said you usually wear blue. Okay. So this is freaking me out. So lots of healing, blue healing energy there. I thought of my blue lapis too. I have a blue lapis lazuli, and this is a blue kyanite. Anyway, so the illuminations and the activations. So now on the illumination side, they're showing me that once we receive all this information, it takes us, because it's like they're showing me water filtering through sand and rocks and things, that when we realize something about ourselves or receive some information, it takes a little while for it to assimilate through our sand, if you will, for us to really integrate what we're receiving, because we have a lot of layers of belief systems that it's got to filter through for sometimes for us to find the one that's at the bottom of the barrel that that hasn't come to light yet. And so that's why I think it was the last card about pulling the throat chakra, it was like this last push of to reiterate that all of this is going to help you with that whole situation, and really help both of us, because you are just my mirror and I am yours. So this is always going to be an energetic exchange of not just information for you through me, but for me, because you are also my mirror as I am yours. So we both needed to hear all of this. And so that throat chakra thing, I almost stopped being surprised now. In some ways, that I was like, okay, I cannot believe I pulled that card. But it's like there's a part of me that's like, well, of course I pulled it. So very interesting how all of that came about, because the very same questions that you've had today are ones that I've voiced myself in the last 24 hours to my guides, to my own husband, to, you know, to myself. So very interesting. So you're not alone in that even though I'm out there doing this and being loud and being verbal and being on YouTube and all that, there's still a part of me that's still that way, very quiet, very wondering, very, you know, what is all this about? You know, what is the meaning of all this? What, you know, so we both needed to hear this. And the information, I was just hearing about that video. I won't forget to send you the link to it. You'll like Brad Johnson. He's very analytical, but he was one of the first channelers I ever came on to, because I liked that he was also he's very analytical, but he's also kind of heart-based and stuff, but not fluffy, not foo-foo-y, not, you know, he's very straight up, you know, like, I know there will be a time soon once I'm set up better. Well, I'll be doing more things like with whiteboards and, you know, that kind of stuff, you know, teaching people a little bit more about all of this, but.
So I think the whole thing about the hiding,
Yeah.
and I mean, I've always said I'm invisible. So it's funny that you use that exact word. Because I tell AJ all the time I'm invisible. But
well, we are, and we are what we say we are, unfortunately.
But I try not to be. I don't want to be.
Well, that's what this is about today, as I think that this is you're going, okay, I'm done with that experience.
The thing is, and I'm seeing evidence of it, and feeling it a little bit myself, that by being more open and visible, I'm attracting negative things that want to come. And AJ's not ready for that. And it's going to be a problem for him. And that's why I sort of think that I'm sort of more in a hiding mode. I could give you a number of specific examples, but I mean, the only thing that's confusing to me is the whole time thing, because if, you know, as there is only now, then what does it really matter? Because,
well,
you know,
you and AJ also agreed to do a particular thing at a particular time.
Yeah.
And energetically and frequency wise, there isn't anything, it's not physically possible for him to not be ready. Because you wouldn't even be entertaining, you wouldn't even be having this conversation then.
Yeah.
So he has asked you on a higher level to take him on this journey as well. You guys have agreed to this on a different level. So, and I think it's very profound that you guys have agreed to do this journey alone in some ways. When I say alone, I mean without your wife. So, and again, you know, this goes into all these other layers of, you know, imagine being her and agreeing to leave you guys alone to do this journey. So, you know what I mean? There's lots of layers. And for some reason I was supposed to tell you that. I don't know why. So,
there are lots of layers.
Exactly.
So I know I'm not alone, but it's just not the same.
Exactly. And I get that. Yeah, I get that. There's a couple people that could probably help you through that a little bit. But, you know, they are other channelers. One in particular, Abraham Hicks, you know, Esther Hicks, Abraham. But I think a lot of that is, you know, we're also getting to that point where we need less and less information coming in from the outside, because we, like people like you and I, know the answer's still always going to be right here. It's like I can listen to somebody else. Now, a lot of times that is how we receive the answer, though. is through the other person, because that's how that information has to get to you. And it has to be delivered to you that way, and it has to be at that frequency, and it has to be at the, which is why you may tend to listen to me on YouTube, but not other people. And I can actually listen. I'm always seeing more and more people out there doing light languages, out there on YouTube and Facebook and stuff. But even I am the same way. I can listen for a few seconds and I know right away whether or not I need to be listening to that information or that message or not. And so I know immediately if it's not, not resonating for me. So has AJ specifically said that to you?
That he's not ready?
That he's not ready, whatever it is the specific situations are.
So I would say yes, that so I'm trying to help him with his journey, and he is quite enlightened, but lots of inner work, lots and lots of inner work. So before he says before his accident, when he wasn't living, when we were in Florida and he was living in our home in Pennsylvania still, that he was basically smoking a lot of weed and getting very much into the spiritual realm, and he's got a lot of empathic ability and other abilities, and he was using them to his own benefit. And so with part of it, he was in a motorcycle accident. So part of it was a brain injury, which is, I would say he's got a little memory loss now. But other than that, he's fine. But he's remembering now, especially now that he's meditating again and starting with that, he's remembering a lot. And remembering more than he's telling me. I could tell he's not telling me a lot. But he's got a lot of fear and self-loathing, I guess the word is.
Ouch.
That part of it he even says that he remembers being in Atlantis and being probably being in a cause of the problem.
See, these are heavy things for us as we start to remember this stuff. This is one of the things that when I experience this stuff, I don't share it with the public either, but it's intense. It's intense.
So I try to get him to connect to me, and he does a little bit. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. Sometimes my energy is too much for him, and he can only take a minute of it.
Yeah.
So I've learned to tune it down for him.
You guys are really in touch. I mean, I'm shocked at how in tune and in touch you are with each other, and how in touch he is with his spirituality, and how much you are, and with your own healing capabilities, and that you guys can even have that kind of a level of conversation. Do you know how important that is?
Yeah, we have we've been together many times.
I can tell that, and that's why. So I don't think you need to worry quite as much about him. You guys are right exactly where and when you need to be, exactly where you need to be for both of you. That's pretty incredible, I think. Maybe you could even, I don't, do you guys get to do stuff together? I mean, he's in a wheelchair, right?
So he's in a wheelchair and effectively can't move. So he could move his arm a little bit, but he can't feed himself or anything else. But we do everything together because I have to help him with it.
Because you have to help him. Okay.
Yeah. So, uh,
Are you guys able to get outside together? I mean, is it hard
yeah.
to?
So we live in South Florida, so there's always it's either hot or it could be raining or it could rain any minute. So it's hard, you know. If he were to get wet in the rain because we're outside, it's happened. It's a pain, so we try to avoid it.
Yeah, I get it.
Even, because if he gets wet, the chair gets wet and everything's wet, and we can't be sitting in wet clothes and wet seat
Yeah.
cushions and.
Yuck.
But I'm working on trying to heal him, and I programmed a crystal skull to heal him all the time.
Does he want to?
He does,
Does he?
but so it was suggested to me that by using the crystal skull, it's always at work, and so it's not so much a conscious decision that AJ has to make continuously
Mm-hmm.
when I'm trying to heal him, because if I try to heal him, I'm not going to just do it because I want to do it. He's got to want to do it. I mean, I've had long conversations with his body to try to get him to convince himself to, make things happen. And I think it's helping, but it's a long road.
Yeah, soto shami ikiana tikia soto sami ikua po ishina titia soto si. The thing that I'm hearing is that it's all about our physical manifestations. Even I know that with my sister and her own paralysis. Her physical manifestations are just simply a mirror of her own mental state of being. So, and our thoughts and beliefs. And so the healing really, when we talk about physical healing, what really needs to take place is, and the very first thing I heard was, which is identical to my sister, which is so creepy, is that's the thing that needs to be healed. It's the self-loathing. It's the lack of self-forgiveness, the lack of self-hate. And this is again why we have got to remember one moment is not connected to the last. Do you see how by really, really embracing that, how you can break free of that whole thing? Because we hold on to shit that didn't happen. It happened in our experience, but if we can understand it was a consciousness experience, we do not need to forgive ourselves because we didn't do anything wrong to begin with. He feels so tremendously guilty about the situation that he's in right now that he cannot break free of it. And and until it's the whole Band-Aid, isn't it? That don't we know for sure now that it's the thought that creates the physical manifestation, and putting a Band-Aid on the physical manifestation doesn't do shit. It doesn't heal anything. It doesn't raise our frequency. It lowers our frequency. So, it's like going to the doctor all the time. I'm sure he's probably constantly having to deal with all of that kind of crap.
Not so much any. So he's other than his disability, he's in good physical shape.
Good.
So he doesn't really take any medicine. Doesn't really have to go to the doctor.
Oh, good, good.
He's actually a veteran, so the VA takes excellent care of all his needs.
I'm very happy to hear that, actually.
Yeah.
Good. I'm happy to hear that. So really what it is it's always just like the rest of us. It's all about self-healing. I think about all the shit that I carry myself, just about things that, about my own children. Even though I was the best mom I could possibly have been at the time, that's what I have to remind myself. I did the best I could do then, And if they want to continue to blame me for stuff and not live their lives because, based upon this is your fault, I'm thinking, you know what? I'm not picking up what you're laying down. No, not going to do that. I've had to do that many times with myself about No, I could, there's so many layers to this stuff. We could talk for days, seriously for days, because there is so much more to this stuff than what meets the eye, and I think about my own experiences and how I'm still something. It's like we laugh about in our yard out here, how the rocks just seem to somehow come to the surface, like one day it's not there and the next day you're mowing and there's a big rock, it's like they literally come to the surface. And that's what's happening with all of these belief systems, and they're literally bubbling up to the surface. They're coming up as these boulders, and sometimes they get stuck in different places in our chakra systems and we don't know how to get them out, and we're capable of doing it ourselves. We're just not in the belief system fully enough that we can do it ourselves. So then we call each other, like these situations to say, help me with this. How do I identify this, And you guys are on such a perfect journey. It's like they're showing me right now, if you could only really see how there is no need for worry, how really everything is exactly perfect where it needs to be for the both of you. And that boy, sometimes I hate being the messenger because, because it always sounds so mean, and I'm always thinking like, how can I say that nicer,
To say it how
and I'm not supposed to do that, I'm really not supposed to do that. But they're basically saying to me too, like, the fears that you have for him and about him are not his at all, they're yours. They truly have nothing to do with him. And this is where the cards come in. They're saying about the walk and the doing the this and the that. They're like, that's where your epiphanies are going to come, that it's going to show you that really it's going to let you both off the hook, but it's going to let you off the hook a little bit, in that you're already exactly where you guys need to be. And that the things and the fears, are the rocks. They are the things that are keeping you from, it's like, it's not, they're showing me it's not real. It's not real. It's just again, it's something we feel we're bringing from the last moment that really, for human being mind, it is almost impossible for us to stay in the frequency of remembering moment by moment by moment by moment. My reality changes moment by moment, billions of times per second. We can't, if we stay in that thought process too long, it's like our physical being starts to almost come apart, because we don't understand. Our mind cannot wrap around that. It just can't. It wants to, because it knows it's logical. It wants to because it knows it's true and it's right. But we were so programmed to play this physical game. If it wasn't real, I'm trying to equate it to a writing a program, because, when you write a program, what you see inside the guts has nothing to do with what the user sees on the other side. Nothing. I mean, it's completely different. And
I think my issue is, I understand exactly what you're saying, but the more I want to let that be true, the more it seems like everything is about me, and I don't think that should be.
I know that sucks, doesn't it? When you start to realize it's got nothing to do with him, isn't it? It's a huge responsibility, because even I have to do that every day when I start getting off the gravity train, the grateful train. I start to realize very quickly, because I can't hide anymore. Dang it. I can't hide anymore behind that stuff, because now it's like right smack in my awareness that says, that's got nothing to do with him, right? Yes, it does. yes, it does. It is so. It's because he did that and he did this and he did that. Or, it's like, wait. It's like, wait, what do you know? What do you know about physics? What do you know about creating reality? And I'm like, shut up. Just shut up. I don't want to know that. I don't want to hear that because I don't want, because it's just so much easier. It's just so much easier to do it the old way or but what they keep saying to me is, and which is, I almost said it, the hard way, because it really is the hard way. It really is. Even though we think it's the easy way, it's the hard way. And I wish so many times, I wish they would say stuff more substantial, I guess, than you guys really don't have anything to worry about. It's like, you try and come down here for a while. You think this is so easy. And yet there's this, it's like the kid who skins his knee, and and as much as you love him, you cannot heal his wounds for him. Not really. We can be facilitators, and we can be channels of energy, and you can throw him energy balls all day, and you can what I found to be most effective is to simply say to myself, my guides or whatever, my body, whatever it is, when I'm feeling that wanting to fix it or heal them, well, one is why. We almost always have to ask ourselves why, because usually it's because it's something we want to fix, not, and so we have to have this detachment with our children, right? When they do stuff stupid or they hurt themselves, or in this case, this is really big, right? This is really big, this is really big. You got to watch your kid, and he's your kid, no matter what you can call him step or whatever. It doesn't matter. It's still in your life. This is your kid, this is your, so, we have to have this, almost this, empathetic distance that we have to put between ourselves and our children's pain, because we can't fix it for them. We cannot heal it. We can't. In order for them to play the real game here in 3D, you have to be able to feel it, right? We can watch a movie and cry, but it does not mean the same thing as when you're living it. Doesn't have the same actual physical impact. I mean, I can think about a movie for months, years, even decades. If it really touched me, I can remember it forever. And I could go right back into the frequency about how it made me feel when I watched it. But it's still not the same as actually living it. So there's this disconnect that we almost have to have. And this is how our higher selves have for us. It's that we can't pick and choose our children's road. We can sort of pave the way and hope we're paving the best road we can, but we still can't pick and choose which stones they're going to fall over and we can't pick and choose that, but we can lay the best, foundation that we can. But there always has to be this level of detachment, because we cannot even be responsible, even as a mother and a father, we as parents can never hold ourselves responsible for the actions of our children. And the same thing with Source and our angels and our guides. They have to let us do this stuff, and they can be channels for information. They can send us stuff, but yet we've got the free will to do as we please, because that's what you get to do here in 3D. So we still get to say, yeah, I get that, but I think I'm going to do it this way for a little while longer. And they go, okay, we're here. We love you unconditionally. We're always, 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 always here. Just pick up the phone. But okay. So they can say, well, you could do it the hard way. And then, but we say, well, but this is the easy way for me. And they're like, all right, tell me that in a year. when you're still in the same place, or you're still sick, or you're still stuck, or you're still, tell me that was the easier way. Okay.
It's funny because I in the past, I've said to my angels, what do you have to do to make people realize what is going on? And they literally said to me, what do you think we have to deal with for every day, constantly?
And can you imagine on the multidimensional when you've got billions of people talking to your ass all day? It's like sometimes I feel that way. I'm like, stop. You need to just be quiet.
I could tell sometimes when they're really busy. So it's a weird thing because so everybody has a certain aspect of the angels in them. But sometimes they actually have to be involved. And I could tell sometimes when they're busy.
Oh, yes. I can too.
It's weird.
But that's because you're in tune. Because you're so in tune to those frequencies that you can feel those energetic shifts. I can feel the energetic shift in people, in the planet, in the atmosphere. I could feel when things are happening on a higher level, from a council. I stand on many councils. So I want you to know that they're telling me right now, it's like they're being really loud with me right now. They're like, there was a reason why we told you at the beginning of this message that you were part of the Lyran Syrian Council. And what they wanted me to tell you was the same that they tell me, is your voice is being heard, and it is so important on other levels that you cannot even begin to understand the people that are listening and paying attention to you on other levels and in other meetings, places, ships, planets. Our governments right now all over the world have been for the last 8 days. 8 days, is that right, you guys? The last 8 days in meetings with our extraterrestrial buddies, and our, they're working things out so that we can come closer to first contact. But it's interesting, the things that we have to work out, because our government is so worried. Like, it's like they even hesitate to let us humans go up there to be physically healed. Now you have to ask yourself, why? Why would our, the powers that be, if you will, that we've put into place, why would they not want us to heal or know that we are self-healers? Well, the answers are obvious. You and I know all the answers, right? It's all about the Benjamins. So, but the thing is that if I want it, there's not one government agency on earth that better tell me what it is that I can and can't do with my body. And you're not going to tell me what I can do in my astral body. See, I can come and go wherever I want in my astral body. They can't tell me anything about that, what I can and can't do. So what they wanted me to tell you right now is, and remind me, is that, we stand on several councils, and there's a lot of people listening to what we have to say. And it's interesting how when us as multidimensional beings can experience anything we want, we come to the earth to choose particular limitations. And it's interesting how we will often, and I use limitations, but that's kind of not a very good word, but experiences is a better word, but I use limitations in particular because, like me, being afraid and being a wallflower and all of the growing up just afraid to say anything. But yet I also know that I created the very reality in which for me to feel that way in order that I may experience coming out of that. I can't blame anybody for it anymore. Now I know I was the one that did it, so I could experience the euphoria, the realization that that's not true at all about me, and that's not who I am, and that there's very important people listening to the very important things that I have to say and the things that I have to share and to contribute about this earth, about healing, about children, about first contact, about the earth itself, the poisoning we're doing to the planet, just all of it, and the roles of the elves, the roles of all the other realms, and all the levels of help that we are receiving. And now we're starting to connect to all these different realms of all this help that we're receiving. But we have to understand it's perfect exactly the way that it is, even though everything seems so severely broken on a global level and even in our own personal lives. But we have to understand it's not, it's anything but imperfect. It's absolutely right where it needs to be. You and I chose on this higher level, to do this work, and now we're just meeting and acting it out in the 3-dimensional. We knew that over the last, I think I knew that from the moment you sent the message that we were already doing this. And now, even like I'd say, even last night, we were probably doing some stuff, so everything is so perfect, yet we don't see it that way. And then we start to, when we see reflections in our reality, and we start to blame ourselves for the things that we thought we did or didn't do, because we're living in this situation right now that we see as negative, yet we don't see it as the absolute perfect, reflection that it is. And so they're reminding me now to remind you and I that you guys are anything but quiet, wallflowers, unimportant, invisible. They're like, y'all are anything but that, So I've actually been in private sessions and in actual live events, and they're out there on YouTube to be watched, and where the channeler was saying about the work that I was doing on other ships and planets, and how just how delightful I am, and how energetic I am, and how everybody loves to be around me. And then he said, sometimes we even have to, how did he say that? Sometimes we even have to put a little, how did he say that? Like something in your tea or something like that, because you're just so excited to be here. Like, shit, you mean you're drugging me? Just because I'm just so excited, and they're, to be there and stuff. So I thought that was kind of humorous, although at the time I didn't think it was necessarily so funny when it was out there being announced to the world, out on public, in the public. But so understand too that you and AJ are doing this, you're having these conversations on a higher level. And part of what they're telling me to do telling me when you're taking these walks or whatever, whenever, is to intentionally, and maybe you already do, but intentionally say, I would like my higher self to have a conversation with his higher self, because I'd like to glean more understanding about this journey that we're having here together, and, and the whole physical healing aspect of it. Because I know it's like I'm feeling this energy between him, his loathing, his needing to forgive himself about this whole situation and the accident, and the feeling, having somebody having to take care of you, like in that respect, is probably, I think, everyone's worst nightmare, isn't it? I mean, really. So to exist where you have to depend on somebody completely is, I look at people that I have to commend them for choosing to be here in that, and to choose to live that experience. That's huge. So I see that in my sister every day, and it makes me grateful. And then it makes me upset with myself for not doing the things I am capable of, because I'm letting these stupid, invisible, dumb, I say dumb because, but yet they're serving us, but I'm letting this silly stuff prevent me from shining my light, and so everything is a mirror. Every single thing is a mirror. And maybe I really believe my sister, and I'm not saying this is AJ's situation at all. What I'm saying is I know my sister, as much as I was wanting to heal her and send her this and send her that, what I understood very loud and clear from my guides, that's not your battle. That's not your job, not your responsibility. And I know now my sister and I have had conversations, in the astral. That's not what she came here for. Not my job to heal her. That's not why she came. So she can say to me, yes, I want to be healed. But see, I already know the answer. I know, no, she doesn't. I know she doesn't. So, like I said, I'm not saying that's his situation. What I'm saying is us as healers have to know when the healing is about ourselves, when the healing is about us as healers, when it's got nothing to do with the other person. It's got to do with us understanding our role as a healer. It's just a perspective. These are all perspectives of all these guides from the emissaries of the Light Collective who come in to give their 2 cents. Take what you like and leave the rest. You know what I'm saying? It's just like everything else. Either you resonate with it or you don't, or you will today and you won't tomorrow, or you never will. But that's the idea, though, that every perspective is absolutely equal. Our archangels, our guides, our higher selves, no other perspective from anywhere in any galaxy or any realm or any frequency is any more important, more substantial, better, or less than us. Completely equal, completely. And this is what they want to remind us of is, and the same thing with our, they're not here to save the day. They're not here they're just guides. They're not, a good teacher doesn't give you the answer, right? They say, no, you figure out the answer and show me your work. Show me your work. How'd you get to that answer? I want to know, how'd you arrive at it? So a good guide is never going to give you the answer. They're only going to guide you to you getting it on your own, because otherwise it's not going to have the impact at all. It's just like watching a movie, watching a television show. Yeah, that was a good story. Yeah, I get the moral of the story. Yes, I should integrate that into my life. And then we go ho-hum and we go off with our lives and we go make the same stupid mistakes that they did in the movie, right? And we're yelling at the TV screen, right? Don't do that, or, and yet we do it too. So I could just, see what I mean? I could just go off for days. And I know we've been together a long time. After a while, it's like, okay, it comes to the point where I can say the same thing 100 times, a different way.
No, I get you.
See, for me, it's just easier to speak in light language because they say everything that, English can't say, I guess. Mi teliko samakoya ma itasha topoya mi ikianate. Senekilia sonobayari sami itokoya malehama. La sineki aluka mashatoka ba alukonya ba alesineki titikiana tekiwa umakia. Sinekila sanate beashanate belehana balakwama lusanomaya shanate. Senatu, are you angry with him about the accident?
Not to my awareness.
Okay. I mean, that's good. It's just a question. It's not a judgment question one way or the other. It's just, that's good because I knew you weren't. I knew that's what you were going to say was no.
Okay.
Because I didn't feel that. I really didn't feel that. So what they want me to say to you is, okay, so you your feeling toward AJ and the accident, I mean, don't you feel kind of like you love him so much that you don't want him to have to go through this, but it's not like you're blaming him, you're not angry, you're not feeling, I mean, do you, it's an easy question. It's an easy thing to ask somebody when you have to be responsible for somebody else. My son was hit by a car when he was a little boy. He was 7 and he was in a body cast for 7 months. I'm sorry. He was in a body cast for 3 months and he had his 7th birthday while he was in the cast. So he was completely dependent upon me. Literally. He had a cast from his neck to his ankles. Flat, he laid on his back for 3 months in a body cast. He couldn't turn even sideways because he had a bar between his legs. And so he really was just like 3 months. So imagine a 7-year-old boy. So you can, so anyway, so here is this person that's completely dependent upon me. And even though it was difficult and even though we had trying times and good times, I never was angry. Because it literally changed my life in many ways. And I had lots of lingering things that happened to me physically as a result.
So I feel no real burden.
Right, exactly. So I really felt no real burden. It was almost as if it was part of my life, part of my being. It was part of my journey. So it's important for AJ to understand that from you. And I'm sure he already does, because it's going to be part of his own healing process. But I think he really needs to know that you don't feel that way, and I'm sure you've already told him.
I tell him. Yeah.
I know, I'm sure you have. But I'm feeling like he's still not convinced. And that's the only reason I'm saying it is I feel like he knows it, but he doesn't feel it. That he knows it, but he still feels angry with himself. He still feels guilty. He still feels, remorse, all of that. So that's kind of part of his own healing process. But again, as difficult and painful that is for you, that's not, you can't heal that for him, but you can,
right.
All you can do is be compassionate and loving and being the person that you're already being. So, can you accept if he's always this way?
Can I? Yes. Yes.
I mean,
so the idea is
we don't. In other words, I'm saying because we don't want you to feel as if you're less of a healer because of his choice of his journey. This is where we're going with this questioning.
Right. See, it's always about me again.
Of course, because it's only going to be about you. Damn it.
So I understand that the success of the healing is up to AJ and not me. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a reflection on my ability or doing my job. I have a lot of, so the exercise that I'm going through is for me that hopefully he will benefit by. So that's
Correct.
how I understand it.
All you can be is your own example of your own realizations, your own awakening, your own awareness, and all you can do is be that example. And that in of itself is what heals him.
So I tell him all the time, what I'm doing does something, because he could feel it.
Oh, yes.
I'm here all the time. He spends most of his time on the phone chatting to girls he's trying to discover.
That's good.
Yeah. But I tell him all the time, I'm here all the time. I'm not going to say to you, do you want to do something? Do you want me to do some healing? Do you want me to whatever? and he's in a wheelchair all the time. So he's a very earth type person, very connected to the earth.
Yep.
But he can never be on the earth because he's in the chair that's got rubber wheels. So I sit on the ground and hold his legs and heal him that way, and he gets grounded that way, which is also beneficial and also helps. When I'm healing him, it helps him to be grounded. But he hardly, I mean, he asks sometimes, but not a lot. He says he feels the skull that I made for him. He says he feels that working. But you would think, I mean, he's in the condition that he's in.
I know.
He's got me here, and he knows that I could do so much more.
So does my sister.
Doesn't ask.
So does my sister. My mom will ask. My mom actually did help me. My mom did ask me for help and did heal herself with my assistance. You know how that goes. She did it herself, but, pretended it was me. But she healed herself from some very major physical situations and lung cancer without not one drop of medication afterward. Nothing. She required 0 medication afterward. So she believed it. My mother believed without a shadow of a doubt that she and I together healed her body. And so I have the same thing with my sister, and I have the same thing with my children, and I have the same thing with my sister-in-law. You hate to throw all these old adages out, but it's seriously, you can only lead a horse to water. And I get very judgy and angry sometimes that, like, why would you want to stay that way if you don't have to? Why would you, if you know I can help you, why would you, blah, 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 blah. And you know what, again, my guides asked me, okay, well, you're feeling awfully uncomfortable right now, aren't you? And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, well, why do you think that is? Well, it's because you're thinking and believing something that's got nothing to do with anything that's true. Nothing. It's that simple. It's not your job, not your business. And you're the one who can't accept that she doesn't want to get better. It's your issue, not hers.
Yeah, I mean, I would say 99% of what I'm actually doing with him is trying to talk to every aspect of his being to convince him to accept it and do it himself, and tell his body to deal with the shit.
So if that's the case then, and he's asking you less and less for healing, what's the problem here? Do you think he's trying to do it on his own and doesn't want to ask you because he's literally trying to do it on his own? Or do you think he's just not doing it and doesn't want to? Or sometimes it could be both. Believe me, I know. There's days when I'm all gung-ho to do something, and the next day I'm like, screw this.
He's definitely trying to do it on his own. But I don't think he's looking in the right places.
Well,
so
honor his wanting to do it on his own, but more importantly, again, it's not about him. So more importantly is honor, why does it bother you? Ask why is this bothering you? Why is it bothering you that he's not asking you? Why is it bothering you that it's hard for me sometimes because we take all this stuff so personally. And like, I think to myself, if my sister was better and she was healthier, then she could come and visit me, and it would be easier for her to live her life, and she could go do the things she wants to do. Funny you said that about grounding. My sister, because she's paralyzed, has a brace on one leg, and her arm is twisted. It doesn't do anything. It just like this most of the time. And her foot is twisted as well. So she wears this foot brace, and she cannot physically put her feet on the ground without both shoes on and her brace on. She can't even get up to pee in the middle of the night without putting on her brace and her shoes and everything. So I know you can relate to this. So therefore, she cannot physically put her bare feet on the ground. Now, she could if she really wanted to, but, you know, she's got to go outside, sit. The thing is she can't sit down by herself because she can't get back up. So even if she were to sit on a park bench, she really, it would be hard for her. She'd have to take off her shoes, take off her, you know, brace, put her feet on the ground, get her feet in the grass, you know. So I keep telling her, Cindy, you've got to do this. You know, you got to get out there. You got to do this. I send her stuff like wheelchair yoga, stuff, you know, stuff you can do, because she can move. Well, she can move her one arm and her one leg, you know. So, but that's another thing. She's got all kinds of things that she could be doing and learning and to do with her other facilities that if she really, really, really wanted to, but she doesn't. It's too hard. It's too much work. She doesn't want to. She can learn how to turn on the light switch and stuff with the other arm, but she just doesn't want to do the work.
Yeah.
So we take it personally, because then I think, well, why wouldn't you want to get better so you could come and do things with me, or I could do things with you, or your life would be easier. But there's a whole bunch of reasons, and you know, and I understand them, and I have to accept that even though she's not even consciously aware of the reasons why she doesn't want to get better, but I am, because I've met her on a higher level. I've talked to her higher self. I get it. I understand why she's doing what she's doing, why she came, you know. So when I say why she came here to do this, we also have to remember too that it's not like we came down here and said, oh, I am going to live this path. No, I think we design that path as we go along based upon our thoughts and beliefs and a particular theme that we want, that we, you know, but the script hasn't been written. The stage has been sort of set kind of loosely, but the script hasn't really been written, and we sort of write it as we go along. So, and so I get that. She is also a person who's always been in the healing like industry. She's always worked for doctors and doctors' offices, and kind of ironic that every single one of her surgeons that she's had through this whole process has been one that she's worked for. Just she's worked in the office. She's been his secretary. She was always in the medical industry as secretarial, administrative. She's worked for the hospital. She's worked, you know, so kind of funny how she was always in that arena. My sister
AJ was an Army medic.
Who you were, or he was?
AJ was an Army medic. Yeah.
So isn't it interesting? My sister always wanted to be around people who were sick. Every one of my sister's best friends has died. I'm not exaggerating. Every one of them. Well, except for her childhood friend. But other than that, it's as if she just had this. And I told her, I said, she can only relate to certain people. She looks a certain way. We look nothing alike. I mean, not complete night and day. We don't look anything alike. And so she's resonates with a particular people, and she's always loved elderly people, and a lot of her friends have always been older, but or sick. Every single person that she's ever come in contact with has been old or sick or died unexpectedly. So it's almost as if she was here to help. I don't know. Maybe she's helped to help them cross over somehow. I don't really know her role, but I know that she came here as a healer in her own right. So isn't it interesting that she was in the medical field, AJ's in the medical field, and yet they end up being almost like the other side of that medical field. So, and there's a lot of other reasons for that, which I could get into, which may or may not pertain to him, but that's, you know, a story for another day. But again, it all comes back to, why does it bother me? And even my mom, she gives away her power every day. She doesn't, you know, I can send her stuff and send her stuff and send her stuff, and she'll tell me the same thing year after year after year after year after year. And I'm like, Mom, have you done that thing? Did you do that thing? Did you try? Well, no. It's like, I can't take it personally. We can't, it's almost like I feel like, well, if you really loved me, you would do this because I love you so much. It's like watching my kids. My kids are grown. My oldest is 39 and my youngest just turned 36. And sometimes I look at the things that they do and I'm just like, oh my God, these are reflections. This is my children. It's like, you know, you. So I can't take it personally. And yet they can continue to blame me. Like my oldest he'll make no bones about continuing to blame all the shit that he's going through in his life. It's my fault. My fault. You did this, Mom. You did this. And I'm like, yeah, okay. You know, because now I know better. It's like, you know, you can blame me all day long and it's all because he doesn't want to take responsibility for his own life. That's the only reason. So, and then I think to myself, well, if you guys, you know, as my children, if you really loved your mother, you would do this for me, you know, why are you repeating this behavior? And, you know, but the real answer is because I'm afraid to death that he's going to do something really stupid, like go off half-cocked and hurt himself or hurt somebody else, or, you know, or get so depressed that he kills himself. And then I think to myself, what can I do about any of that? I lost a niece at 15 years old 3 years ago to suicide. So we can't take this stuff personally. And at the end of the day, as much as we'd like to think it's all about us, it doesn't have shit to do with us. Nothing. We want to believe it does, but it doesn't. Any more than us and our relationship to our own friends, family, parents, siblings. You know, we can blame them all day long, but our heart knows the difference. Our heart knows we're the ones responsible. We're the ones in control. And even my husband, you know, he's not really into any of this stuff, you know, not really. He's supportive, but he's just like not really into it, you know, never been in one of my hangouts, doesn't watch my videos ever, you know, and I take that kind of personally, you know, I'm like, well, if you loved me, you would, you know, but the thing is that's like me saying, well, you know, if he was a motorcycle, well, he's got an old Bronco, you know, which we restored together and stuff. But if he wanted to go do like car stuff, it's like I would be supportive, but that doesn't mean I want to be dragged along to all of this stuff all the time either. It's like, I love you, but yeah, see you later. So
Why would you restore a Bronco?
What's that?
Why would you restore a Bronco?
Well, you know, they're back in the day. We've had it for a long, long time. We actually restored it about 30 years ago. So, they're just
mean just to have it.
They're popular little vehicles. He just happened to love we're not Ford people. We're not Bronco people. It's just one. He just happened to get into these Broncos, and all of a sudden anyway. So. But the point is that I have to look at it that way too, is that if he took up a sport or something or a hobby that I wasn't necessarily interested in, that doesn't mean I can't be supportive. Or if all of a sudden he became, you know, where he wanted to travel and go do stuff and, you know, okay, let's just say he became this like famous golfer and now I got to go travel at all these golf tournaments and I'm like, oh, bored out of my mind, you know, because I hate golf. Not that I hate it, it's just not my game, you know, so don't want to watch it on TV, don't want, you know, so it's like, yeah, I would be supportive, but that doesn't necessarily mean I would be like into it. So I have to try to look at it from that standpoint is it's, don't take it so personally, you know, and even the stuff that I hear from my guides, sometimes they're like, I know that's difficult for you to hear, you know, and they're kind of like, yeah, you need to take it personally because it's for you, but, you know, be a little easier on yourself, you know.
I have a lot of conversations with I guess the angels and my higher self discussing the intricacies of love as a human being. So hopefully they're listening. Somebody's listening.
Always. There's always someone listening.
But we're offered a very unique opportunity to experience things in a way that normally would not be experienced. And I guess it's, everybody has to have the different experiences for them to be valuable. But it would be better if they were a certain way all the time.
In our opinion.
Well,
hey, aren't the worst experiences of our lives turn out to be the best things that ever happened to us in hindsight?
not if you live in the now all the time.
Well, that's a good point. See?
Yeah.
That's a very good point.
But,
But if you remember, it's everything's now, that it didn't really happen. You're experiencing the memory of it, but you're experiencing it now. Everything's now. So even though we can say that was the worst thing that ever happened to me, I'm still experiencing it now. It's not like a memory is not really something that happened before. It's an experience we're having right now, but we put it in a linear perspective so that we can look at it as something that happened in our past. But it didn't really happen in our past. It's just an experience that we decided to, it's like a movie scene that we decided would be really good, a good addition to our movie. And, it could be just a little bitty scene that may have very little to do with the long scheme of it. It could have a profound effect on the whole story, so we really, if we were to see things from a higher perspective, we would understand that all of it is exactly positive. It's just that we don't perceive it that way. Isn't it interesting how you can meet somebody, or say you see somebody who you positively cannot stand them, or you love them, and then you meet them and you're like, what was I thinking? How could I have possibly either been so detested or so drawn by this person? And yet now that I actually know who they are, my complete perspective has changed. Just like that. It's that simple. You change your perspective, and absolutely everything you do, all the energy you put forth, and everything you do from that point forward is going to revolve around that energy. If you get a job, you go move closer to your job. You get a car if you need to get a car. You eat in the places that are near your job. You shop near your places that you live. Everything is related around that one thing. When that job ceases to become fun anymore or whatever, and your perception changes, all of a sudden now something else is more important. A new place is more important, and people will go and move to places they never ever in a million years thought that they would love. After going from really cold temperature from Chicago to moving to Tennessee, I used to think when I was young I wanted to retire to Florida. Sorry, but Florida's the last place I want to live now because it's too effing hot. It's just too hot. So this is hot enough. I mean, it's hot here.
I'm here for some reason. I'm not 100% sure what the reason is, but I'm stuck here.
Me either. I had no idea why I was so drawn to this place. I was not born and raised in Tennessee, and yet there was something so powerfully calling me since 2002 when I came here for one of the first times I came here. And I don't know what it is, but something kept telling me, you need to be here. This is home. For now, today, this is home. And so I don't know why, but we just decided to move here. And like I said, I moved away from everyone. My sister, my mom, my children, all of our family, all of our cousins, everybody's up there. So it's just him and me here. Talk about a leap of faith, and it's been very difficult here in a lot of aspects, physically, mentally, spiritually. It's amazing. I love this place. It's like, I I'm so happy to be here spiritually. Just being in nature and where I am and the people that I've been meeting. And I never in a million years thought I would meet more open-minded people here than when I lived up north. It's been pretty incredible. I completely talk about perception. I completely made it about face in my perception of a lot of things that had to do with here and the South and all of it. So I've met a lot more upward thinking and open-minded people here than I ever did up north. Surprisingly, really surprisingly. The most important thing for me to know is, and here again, this is our whole why and the whole ego thing, but do you feel these sessions take different avenues, and I do completely different things with different people. Sometimes it's just completely different. So each one is unique. I guess what it is that I need to know is, did you receive the information or connection? And let me just say before I ask that completely, but I know you're going to know what I'm going to ask you, but let me just say that any information, you're going to still be receiving this information for days and weeks and months to come. I mean, this is just the beginning of opening the gate, just so you understand that. And I'm looking down at the images. I usually, after I'm done with a session, I usually get more information. And so I'll usually do like a whole nother page of symbols. It just sort of comes. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't, but most of the time it seems to happen that way. Which are meant for continuous or further activations, illuminations, gateway openings, light code activations within your light body, realizations, awarenesses, epiphanies, if you will. But most importantly is finding that connection, that connecting with another human, another person, another, such as today, there's a really special alchemy that happens and friendships that are formed because they're already, like, every stranger that I've met so far, I know is already a friend of mine on another level. And it's just like, oh my God, I remember you now, I remember seeing you and working with you and being with you. And now I'm like, now we can do it here, So it's important for me to know today and in the days and weeks to come. Do you feel better? Do you feel more empowered? Do you feel, and it's okay to say no. It's just one of those things that, do you feel better or more open or more aware of yourself and the questions that your heart has now than you did before?
So this was absolutely a positive day meeting with you. There are some things. There are definitely some things that enlightened me, and will continue to think about. Some things that are going to be helpful, like my walkabouts, and I really like the fact that we're going to try to have a joint intention with this crystal skulls and the full moon. So don't forget about that.
Oh, me too. I'm really excited about that. I'm like, yeah.
So yeah, all that is really exciting and good, and I'm really, really, really excited that we met, and that there was something obviously far more encompassing than just the crossing line and see it.
Most of the Shemikya, most definitely. I mean, it was palpable for me. And I just keep feeling like I need to reiterate how the work that you're doing on other levels is so important. And you and I would have never met today had we not been working together on these other levels. It's just, they keep saying the word physics. It's not possible. They keep saying that. It's not possible. You know, you guys can't interact with each other if you're not on the same frequency. So it's important for you to understand that, you know, what you're doing here is really, really important. And it's not just here on Earth that you're doing it. And the emerald tablets and Thoth, however you want to pronounce it, was that was just something else that I was wanting to share with you, because this goes back to the very beginning of time. If you go back to, well, of writing and the like sacred information and ancient information. And so they really wanted me to mention the emerald tablets. All of this is related. It's related to the crystal skulls. It's related to the work that you and I are doing on other levels. It's related to the work that you're to do here on Earth.
So that, what do they want me to do with that?
You will know. You'll just be guided. It's like me. You know, I go out and I bless this and I bless that in the water, and I do these videos, and I go in the grocery stores and I bless all the food and I bless all the water, and I get all of these images every day and I post them out into the world. But to be honest with you, no clue why. No clue why. I just do it because I'm guided to do it, because they're telling me how important it is, and that these light languages are very important, and on so many different levels, just for me as well. So, and actually, I don't want to forget, I'm going to send you that Brad Johnson link too that I watched. I just watched it today. That is the weirdest thing. It's from like 3 years ago. So I knew right away as soon as I started listening to it that it was for you. Well, for both of us, but.
So the thought thing,
Yeah.
I'm a little familiar with it.
Maybe that's why I was supposed to not forget to say it. And it's 333. By the way, it's 333 my time, just so you know that.
Okay. As we're talking about this?
Just as we're talking about Thoth, where it's like 333, and I'm like, woo!
So I can't really do that with AJ. I can't, because that could be like a long time of meditation.
Oh yeah, it doesn't have to be with them. Like I said, it just, you'll know. It's okay. You don't have to be with them. This was more about you and being off on your own. I just wasn't sure if you were able, do you get the time to have any time alone to yourself? That's what that was all about.
Yeah. So you know, I have looked at it. I actually intend to print it out so I have it. And it's very specific. And I've learned that I don't really like it when things are vague. I don't like vague messages and secret things and hidden things between the lines. And I can make a good puzzle if I have to. And I've done that for myself. But there are certain things that I know if I'm going to leave a message for myself, it's going to be really clear. And if I look at that in that perspective, it's really clear and simple. And it says exactly how much time I need to devote to different things. And sometimes AJ wakes up in the middle of the night and needs my help with something.
Mm-hmm.
So I might not be able to answer if that were to happen. So I'm not sure what to do about that.
You don't need to even do anything about that at all. Actually, we're reminded that all we have to do is just not even think about that. It's, you know what I mean? You can think of that as a possibility, or you can think that, you know what I mean? So it's always I find myself saying things like, I wish it wouldn't rain. And that's not really what I want, is it? What I want to say is, I hope tomorrow is sunny.
Yeah.
There's a whole different frequency.
Yeah. And I have to keep thinking that I need to be more in the flow and not try to be planning it out.
That's exactly what they've been saying in through this whole thing is that everything is exactly the way it needs to be, but we are so busy trying to put square pegs in round holes because we think it's the way it needs to be. And they're like, don't you guys understand? It's already the way it needs to be. You just don't recognize that. It's what you need to work on is your recognition and your perception. You don't need to work on the thing. And this is the stuff.
Right. So I'm sort of thinking that I just need to be familiar with that stuff because when the time comes, I need to remember.
Oh, that could be it too, because a lot of times we're guided to learn things because it's supposed to be a tool to put in our pouch that even though we don't need it today, shoot, I've got stuff that I did years and years ago that I have no idea why I did it, but now I'll pick it up and they'll go, oh, see, now you know why you did it.
So, yes, I am aware of a lot of that association. And I've been told several times already about journaling, that I should journal.
Yes,
and
that's why I was told too to tell you I've started a brand new journal today.
Yeah. So, but it's funny because my answer to that is I've already done it so many times. What more can I write down?
I actually stopped writing in my journal quite a bit because recently I've got tons and tons of journals and I felt like I was like, you know what? I just want to experience it instead of recording it all the time.
Right.
You know, I spend a lot of time recording a lot of things, you know.
So I'm not talking about this lifetime.
I know.
I'm talking about
other lifetimes. I know that. And I know that's what you meant. I'm the same way. I've been writing and writing for years. That's why I was.
And I could find it on the internet really easy.
Indeed. But that Toth was also, that's kind of the beginning of writing and music and time and the secrets of the universe, the keys, the keys to the universe, that kind of thing. So I was feeling very, very strong ancient energy, built like the building blocks, of being at the beginning of building the earth and putting it together and creating the elementals and those that would watch over the world. And so, taking yourself back to that beginning time you've done this lots of times. And that's how I feel sometimes when I get tired of writing in my own journal. Because I'm like, you guys, I've done this in so many lives. I'm tired of writing, That's one of the reasons I started doing videos, I think, because it's easier to talk than it is to write.
Well, I just try to think, what could I possibly put down now and in what manner that is going to be useful in the future, other than just to jog my own memory. But I have a pretty good memory.
That's what's so important. And when I very first started doing the automatic writing and journaling and all that, in my spiritual life, I started taking a different turn with it and started writing down, instead of writing down my day and this and that and the people and what happened and all this other bullshit stuff, I started just writing down words, names, whatever came to me. I stopped worrying about trying to put the adjectives with it, the descriptions with it, the trying to make complete sentences. And when I started doing that, the floodgates opened, because I was no longer trying to structure the information. So try it that way for a little while. Do not put any structure to the information, whatever. Write down just like you said the other day, the names that are like what you said earlier. See, it already feels like the other day. What you said earlier about the names, I get names and names and names and names. And now when I go back and look at my journals from 3-4 years ago, these are names of entities I started channeling later. So, or it was names of people I was going to meet that I would meet later in the future, even though everything's now I get it. I would write down names and then I would meet, or I would channel that energy, or now I know it was somebody or something or some energy or entity that was communicating with me. And they were telling me their name. It was that simple. So remove the structure. And I'm hearing this like they're telling me to tell you this on lots and lots of layers. Remove your structure. And let yourself build a new foundation, build a new, let go of the old structure, the old way of thinking you needed to do or be. And because and this isn't you, when I say you, they're talking we, it allows us to open up that door for the other stuff that we never could have even imagined. You know what I mean? So I had to do that too. I had to completely remove the structure. And what happened with my life was I was so resistant about letting go of that structure. Well, they just did it for me. They took it all out of my hands because I said, I don't know what to do or how to do. All right. So everything I ever knew, I would say semblance of order, every routine, everything was completely wiped away, completely. And I had to unravel everything in order for me to see what I was really supposed to see, because I was so blinded about putting all of my self-worth and my value into the time and energy into things that I felt were my value and my self-worth. But by doing that, I was completely shutting out what I was supposed to be doing. I couldn't even see it. I wasn't even in the right frequency. And so until I let go of that structure and needing it to be nice and neat, once I let it all go to hell, it was like, that's when all the beauty came, all the answers came, all of the, the amazingness, that's when it all came. And I just, maybe I feel that's the same thing with you, that, letting that need to go, letting that feeling go, that something needs to be, that it's broken. It's not broken.
Okay.
Miasata shimi itani kiasata shinituele sana tashama eleseto. Shamati asanakiwa Elisa natapali ama inanakiwa Elisa. I'm pretty sure I wrote on here the shamanic. I'm really close to the shamanic council, and I think I wrote that somewhere last night about shamans on your thing. I did, right here. Shaman, plant medicine, Stonehenge, the ancients, working with Gaia. So yeah, kind of interesting that I picked up on that as well. So Nitani kiasata shmi iwa inda kiasata samila isama leteshe. Semikili kiananda kela saposana pala halakone baleshono totikila kimalarita. Samatile sinakiawa la sanana lekwa malosha. Sinikila kente yabasato samila nikia la sato shamalea po arshanatake. Misa teshinatekila. And we would like to thank you for this time, for your wanting to expand and understand your own reality. The part that you play in creating that reality and wanting to explore your higher versions, higher frequencies of yourself. Mita shaniti sanote washana misata shinatore. Anyone who chooses to embark on a journey, miyasoto shomi washanate wasatose miyatoto shomi kewalati wasanotosami. They're saying like with eyes wide open, but not knowing where you're going to be going is one of the most bold things an entity can do. Not everyone chooses to come here. This is something you must understand. It takes a very special intention and energy and thought wave to want to experience this quality, this idea of density and clarity and realization. They said it's much like agreeing to be in an amusement park like every day. People get really tired of that roller coaster, while others will stand by and look and say, well, what do you mean? It's so exciting. Say, well, do it a few million times. And yes, it will still give you that same tickle in your tummy, but after a while, you just want to get off the ride. But understand, the type of magical individual, if you will, it takes to agree to play this game. And while there's so many realms and realities watching, there's so much of your gifts that you do not see because you're so busy looking at all the things you as humans that you are doing wrong or inefficiently, and yet if you could only see again, much the way you have an animal or a child where there's nothing, absolutely nothing that they're doing wrong. You will tell every child that they are beautiful and perfect just as they are. They're unique for a reason. There's nothing you could make me do to unlove you. If only you could all see how profound and beautiful this work is that you're doing for this and every other planet. You would never question who you are, what you're doing, why you're doing it. I'm thinking about my dog right now, and how much I love Ranger, and he just exists, and I love him just for existing. And no matter how many things he could get into, or I could never not love him so unconditionally. And this is how Source feels about you. And there's nothing you're doing wrong. And you are loved and guided beyond measure. And your thought is the phone line. Niaposhana towalashana. We are only a thought away. Nikora bashanatese. Misato shanakila litona sinata, like the drop of water in the ocean. Napoleato somogoa da kesanateshe semotose. You can remove a drop or a cup, niaposepo, but it still contains everything the ocean contains. Niaposoto shnole kela. Sinikilatina. And we feel this has been a most energetic day. Niaposhanate welesanot korea. Misa, the beginning of many gateways and realizations, and again, meeting a kindred soul, someone who understands. And each of you are greater and more expansive because of this connection, this alchemical remembering of what you not once were but are. And the power you have to wake up and never again forget. Over and over and over you have forgotten, and now you will remember without forgetting. And we thank you for allowing us to share our perspective, as we thank you for sharing your perspective with us, for we are also growing and expanding. Whether physical or non-physical, the expansion never ends. And you exist and always will exist. For you are a part of all that is, and all that is part of you. So our guides are your guides, and your guides are our guides. For together we learn, and we grow and expand. And in turn we expand all that is, and the understanding that God, Source, has of itself. For it sees itself as you, and you as it. Well, thank you. This has been a longer time than I expected, but then I tend to do that.
Thank you, Wendy.
That's why I tell everybody a minimum of 60 or 90 minutes, because I can't do this in any less time than that.
Well, I'm really, really glad we had this time together.
And it'll take a little while for the video to process. I don't know if you've ever used Zoom and made videos, but it'll take a little while for the video to process, and then I will upload it to YouTube, and I will send you a link to the video, and nobody else can see it, online but you. Do you, I was going to try something. Do you have an email address? There's a way that I can set it so that it's private, and then I can just send it to a particular email address. I've never tried that before. Usually I just set it to unlisted, and I give the person the link, and nobody else can see it anyway. But I was just curious. I was going to try that.
I do.
So yeah, whenever you get a chance, just email me your email. Email me your email.
I'll give it to you. I'll message you it.
I'll send you all of the stuff. Like I said, I'll send you the pictures of everything that I got and everything that I get over the next day. And call me just send me messages. The one thing about this whole situation is that once I spend time with a person in this capacity, such as yourself, I feel as if it's just a different relationship. It's as if it's, it shifts from, and so it's like, like now I hope that you'll come to, you know, events and stuff like that and hang out, and you know what I mean? It's like, I always hope that this is just the beginning of relationships. It doesn't necessarily, not to say that we can't do private sessions anytime you want. That's not what I mean. I just, you know, it's just that it's like, it takes a different layer, you know. It's like, I know that, you know, like you're one of us, you're the teachers, you know, you're a teacher of the teachers. You came because you are out, you're going to be helping other people and healing, and you already do that, and I can feel it right away. Your angelic connections, your healing connections, all of it, I could feel it right away. So you're going to be on your own magnificent journey. And that doesn't mean you have to do it for a living. That's not what that means. It just means that you have this healing capacity to put out to the world, and you're coming into that recognition.
Well, I certainly intend to see more of you. So,
Well, that's awesome. And I will always let you know, make sure you're aware of everything that's, you know, events and things. And I've got one coming up. I don't know if I'm going to do a public, let other people from the public in, or if I'm just going to have there's a couple of people that are going to be in it with me, and it'll be on YouTube out to the public, but I don't know how many people I'll let in the room. It gets a little distracting sometimes. But I'm hoping to, as a matter of fact, I need to put the event together today or tomorrow, and it's going to be on 7/11 at 11:11 a.m. my time. And so my guides gave that time and a date to me, and then I realized after I sat with it for a second, I'm like, oh, wait a minute, 7/11/2018, that equals 11. I was like, well,
yeah.
no wonder you guys want me to do it on that time and that day. So anyway, that's the hope. So yeah, maybe you'll catch us on YouTube that day. And so I haven't decided yet if I'm going to share the link for other people to come in. There's a couple of ladies that we had a lot of synchronicities and stories to share, and light languages and things. So I think I'm going to do something on that day. So we'll see. Sometimes I leave it spontaneous, but I think this one I'm going to plan. So, but yeah, now that you're in all my circles and stuff, you'll be getting all my invitations and things, like it or not.
No, please send. So,
Good. And I will be in touch soon. I'll send you all the stuff, and I'll send you the link to that video. It's been so nice meeting you. I love your energy. I'm looking down at all the cards, you know, that I pulled. So, you know, this whole throat chakra thing just really threw me. So I just wanted to go to that blue energy again. It's just something about that throat chakra. So I'm going to go ground a little bit. I think my husband went and took my dog for a walk already, because they usually go around about an hour ago. So I said, I have time for me to go ground a little bit and go talk to Gaia. And and I'm really looking forward to the full moon. I'm really excited about that. I'm thanking my guides for that. That was a cool message.
So if you ever feel so inclined to message me or whatever, like, don't hesitate.
Okay, thank you. I will. I appreciate that very much. Sometimes it's hard for me to find people to talk to, so I'll just leave it at that.
Well, like I said, and I think I told you the story from the beginning, there is a friendship here.
Exactly.
Obviously there is.
Yeah.
But I mean, I feel it now, and I don't know what I could do to help, but
oh, you will, believe me. It's all going to happen. And
yeah.
I have a feeling that you're going to be one of the healers in some of my hangouts. And so I already get that feeling. And like I said, I don't make friends with all of my clients, but I have to say, for the most part, it usually ends up this way, that I know that we're going to be working together. So I felt it right away. So I feel it just feels very easy.
Good.
Very easy. The conversation.
Because people don't usually like me that much. They find me.
Well, I happen to like you very much.
To know.
So yeah, we will. We'll talk real soon. And I really thank you for your reaching out, your trust, your going with your vibe, going with your gut. I really do appreciate it. I don't always mention people's names in my videos because some people are really uncomfortable about that. So, but every now and then I'll just say something like, you know, I spent today with somebody really special and they know who they are. Yeah, Satoshi. Thank you so much. And we'll talk really, really soon. And I'll get all this uploaded to you as soon as I can. It probably won't be until tonight or tomorrow.
Okay. Take your time. Not any emergency. I've got a lot to think about and do. And I have to go take a walk.
Yes. Yeah, you do. And I feel really exceptionally close to AJ for some reason too. And I think it's just through you, but I feel like I just, you know, I don't know. I'm just sending him an energetic hug or something. I don't know.
Well, so what I found is if you know me, you probably know him. So
that's how I feel.
I have an idea of some of the association between him and I, but only on a few occasions. So, hold on. Did you guys order food? It's here.
Okay. Well, you guys go eat your food. I'm going to go too. I'm going to go get some.
Oh, I'm sure they didn't.
So.
Okay.
Yes, Satoshi Mikiela. We'll talk real soon. And hey, message me anytime. And I'll get back to you as soon as I possibly can.
Okay. Thank you. Nice to meet you.
Thank you so much. And so today I say goodbye to Dave. Thank you so much. It's just a formality for the video, so we know. And today is 7/7/2018. Which is a 777 day. So I wanted to throw that out there too, that I'm feeling immense lucky sevens all about you. So in this Trinity unity consciousness. So thank you for today. Thank you for your that overwhelming wave of love that I felt from you for the last 24 hours and the trust. And thank you for your friendship. And we'll talk real soon.